Hello, everyone, and welcome to our draft day, our first of the new year, where we are looking back at 2022 and looking forward to 2023. It's been a fun but busy last few weeks and months, and we're ready to get full swing into it. I've been busy with a little show I've been doing. He's got a little technical dream code of his own. But let's bring on some of the guests today, starting first with. This is upside down now. Starting first with two hosts of the channel who are always around and always. Oh, sorry. I saw Chad jump into his seat. Sorry, Chad. I'll bring on Matt first. There's Matt, and now he's seated, so I'll bring in Chad. I was about to introduce you, then you just got up and sat back down, but we're glad to have you both, as always. Draft day staples. How y'all doing?
I'm excited.
I'm very excited as well. Great 2022, great year for film, great year for shows. Yeah, this is going to be a banger.
I
Let's do it.
feel like I get to the end of a year all the time and go, gosh, that was a good year of film, because I'm always looking at like the best movies that I saw that year. But years like this are similar to years like 2019, where I'm like, that was just a good year. Like, yeah.
A lot of bangers because all the COVID releases have been pushed to this year.
Yeah.
And now they're finally, I think, caught up. Maybe save for a few, which we'll also talk about because there's a special category tonight that we are going to talk about in just a sec. But bringing on two other people who have been on drafts before. They are not hosts on the channel, but we'd love to have them on Marvel Trivia and elsewhere. Of course, here on Draft Day, we have JD, and then we have Highway to the Drafting Zone, aka Brian Nussbaum. How y'all doing? Good to see y'all again. Happy New Year.
Good. JJ2 was actually my first year going back to theaters. Right, so
Oh, wow.
comes for all, so we're
There you
about to
go.
see some good films. And
Yep. Great films. And JD, how you doing?
Glad I don't have to do anything MCU related for a change.
Well, you never know. There were MCU projects released. There were MCU movies and TV released. So you never know. It could come up. But yes, you don't have to be quizzed on anything today, even though your match is coming up soon. Matt, any words before we begin?
Yes, I do. I do have something to say. Brian here, who this is the first time I'm meeting you. It's lovely to meet you. Is responsible for my worst performance in draft day ever, when he voted for my draft, and it was that way for a whole day. Took it away and gave it to someone else, and then I got no more votes on that one. So
Hey.
That is my -1 draft. I have the worst score ever with a -1 thanks to our friend Brian here.
It's okay. Hey, the Facebook poll, it's you're free to choose, which means you're also free to switch. And I do not begrudging Brian for being honest with his own choices and switching. But maybe you'll win him over this time. I do want to bring up the Christmas draft though, because that was the last draft we did, and it looks like right now it's like a 3-way tie. It looks like between myself, Kelsey, and Chad. It looks like so. That's exciting. Again, these drafts, they stay open for a while, so like you can vote on them as long as you guys want. Maybe at the end of this year, I'll be like, this is the solidified winners for all the drafts, just so we have like a little bit of bragging rights. But this draft is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about the 2022 films and TV, and also some anticipated stuff for 2023. The way the draft works, there'll be 5 rounds total. Random draft order will be selected by a wheel, which I have queued up and ready to go. Draft is snaked. A lot of snakes in cinema this year, meaning whoever has the 5th pick in round 1 will have the 1st pick in round 2, and so on and so forth. For this particular draft, this is what you all have to draft. You have to draft one film of 2022. Self-explanatory. One series of 2022, and that is like, if it's a mini series, you get the series. If it's a season of television, you get the season. If you pick a show that's been on for 20 years, like The Walking Dead, you only get this most recent season, not the whole series as a whole. But one MVP performer of 2022 can be across film, TV, or both. If someone double dipped, even more impressive. One scene of 2022 that can also be from film or TV, and one most anticipated film of 2023. We're looking forward. We're going to be optimistic because who knows what's in store. But there have been a few trailers for things, so we definitely have some stuff we're excited about. Any questions before I spin this good old wheel? Cool.
Nope.
Please vote for me.
Please vote. Matt has not even chosen one thing, and he wants a vote. Oh.
Let me guess. 5th
Rigged.
place.
Rigged.
Of course.
Rigged.
Okay, it's not rigged because Brian and JD saw me before Chad and Matt got on the stream. I gave them all their own color because they wanted to be blue and green respectively. So they saw me put everything in, so you know it's a fresh wheel. I'm going first. I have a clear 1-1 that I want to pick because some categories, in my opinion, are more shallow than others, and I want to be able to get my first pick. So I'm going 1-1. That doesn't always happen for me. I always tend to go
No.
either fifth or third or something like that.
Being
But
cool about it doesn't mean that the pick isn't in.
all
I just
right, Matt,
makes it
you are
work.
going to get your choice. Do you want to be second, third, fourth, or fifth?
I am going to go. Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and go fifth.
Fifth. Okay, Matt with the Dylan strategy. We'll see how it pays off. It used to be the Kelsey strategy. Now I think it's the Dylan strategy. And JD, Mr. Green, what are you gonna pick?
I guess I'm gonna go what I generally do, which is I go third.
Okay, right in the middle. All right, so between Brian and Chad, one of them's gonna be
It's an
second. One of them's gonna be
underrated
fourth.
spot because you kind of you don't you're on the front end and the back end.
Oh, just squeaked it in. Chad,
Uh,
you want to go second or fourth? Big advantage here.
Let me go. I'll go second.
Second.
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever.
So Brian will be fourth, which means our draft order is Dylan, Chad, JD, Brian, and Matt. Let me rearrange to reflect that. There we go. All right. I am on the clock, and I'm picking my MVP performer, everyone, because
Okay.
I think this is the most shallow for me, where I only have 3 that I'm really considering. There have been some great performances and performers, but no person has done as much as this person.
Okay.
This person established themselves not just as a scream queen in film, but a scream queen in television.
Oh.
I am picking Jenna Ortega as my pick for the MVP
even consider her.
performer of 2022. I'm going to list off the stuff she did. She started the year with The Fallout, which was a really nice indie drama. She then went on to do 3 huge horror films: Studio 666, X, and Scream. And then she, of course, ended the year by doing Wednesday, which was one of the biggest series of the year. So I'm very happy to have Jenna Ortega on my board. I believe that's all she did this year. She may have done more. She's also been doing all the award shows now, which I know is not 2022, but she's been out there and campaigning, and the Wednesday dance blew up on TikTok and all this stuff. So I think she's definitely an up and comer that I'm excited to see. I was a fan of hers from the show You on Netflix, so I'm excited to see her get her due now. And I'm really excited to have her on my board. Anyone thoughts on Jenna Ortega?
I have thoughts.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I was going to I chose to go fifth because I thought you were going to go first, pick your performer, and I thought it was going to be my number 1 performer. So I was like, that's off the table, so I'll go fifth. You didn't do that, and so now I'm regretting it. However, you did pick my number 2 on my performers list because I love Jenna Ortega. I think she's fantastic. I've loved her in everything she's been in. She and another performer who also has done some things this year have become like horror icons this year, and which I really dig. I'm really excited to see what she does in the future because it feels like she's brand new and she's done so much and so much great. So I'm trying to see
there's anything else.
She also convincingly plays a high school character and like an adult who's filming porn movies. So like it's really interesting range.
Any other thoughts, JD?
Yeah. When I watched Scream, like the opening scene of Scream, then I wasn't really aware of her before. I know she did like some Disney stuff and like one of the Disney kids, but it was way past my time, so I wasn't aware of her. So when she appeared in that opening scene, and she's so the way it's a hard thing to sell pain, like how brutal it is. And then you follow that up with X, which I caught up just a month ago, did double feature with Pearl on X, and then following that up with Pearl and how different she is in that. And I haven't watched Wednesday yet, but I know it's on everybody's radar. TV. I'm not particularly, there's so much, but she's really good. Her career is gonna this is her breakout year. And it's only gonna go up.
Well, she's going to be in the next Scream in 2 months, which
Yes.
is crazy. Like already in another, she's already one of the faces of that franchise again. So I'm really excited. Chad, any thoughts on Jenna Ortega?
Here it comes.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't my favorite like from the get go when everybody was like fawning over her and stuff. And like she has a long way to go before anybody can actually call her like a horror icon. She was like only in like 3 movies like this past year. or 2 horror movies this past year.
Studio 666X and what's the other one?
But she
plus Wednesdays is a horror series.
Yeah,
that's true. She did sell me when I saw the Fallout. I was like, okay, this is actually something different I can actually get behind. Because I didn't like her character in X. And Wednesday, I'm still trying to figure out if I like her in that. But it's still a very good pick because it's not just quantity, it is also quality, because I agree she does have a lot of range in those different roles.
I would just like to clarify real quick when I say horror icon. I don't mean that she has already stood the test of time as a horror icon. I'm saying that this year, two people broke out that are this year's horror icons, that are like potential horror icons of the future of this year's. Also, the Fallout is a horror of a different kind.
Yes, it is.
True. That's a good point too. Yeah, and that's a good thing too. Is like we talk about JD with pain, and like she has a lot of physical pain in X for sure. I mean that scene where I'm not going to spoil it, but like ouch. And then of course in oh my god, in Scream, I mean that whole first scene, so much physical pain, but then the emotional pain of Scream, and then the Fallout is a good idea to look at, like pain, both physical and mental and emotional, which is really good.
And she still prefers the Babadook, by the way.
She does, yes. And oh my god, when she was performing at the Golden Globes or presenting at the Golden Globes, and she was talking about all her favorite film scores, and they were like the most unconventional ones ever. She's like Evangelist in Blade Runner, and she was just like kept listing off stuff that I was like, good for you. She's got taste. And then she presented Natu at the Golden Globes. So like she's winning. She's already winning in life. All right. Shall we move on, Chad? What is going to be your first pick here on the draft?
Yeah, I was kind of, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have gone second. Let me see. I feel like I have to do this now. I'm going to go with the next MVP.
Ooh, okay. What are you going with?
And I feel like I have to. I'm going to go Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
There it was. See, this is why I should have gone second.
Yeah. There were 2. Jenna Ortega wasn't on my list, but then when I heard it, I was like, yep, that's a great pick. That is a if you have to go performer at your shallowest category, then you have to pick her. But I think like just right even with her is Colin Farrell. Because he's getting all of the Oscar attention right now for Banshees, the Banshees of Inisherin. He was unrecognizable in the Batman Penguin, and then he was kind of low-key brilliant in a quiet movie not a lot of people saw after Gang.
So, that too. Oh my god, I forgot. I was saying 13 Lives. Yeah, because 13 Lives. He's also.
Oh, I haven't.
I forgot. I haven't seen that either. But yeah,
he was gonna say Ron Howard. I think maybe his best movie. Yeah.
I think he's like really brilliant in everything he's in that like Martin McDonagh does as well. And Banshees is no different. I love how he's like low key funny, but also a very very tragic character as well. Because of how he's treated and, things that happen to his character, whether it be, losing people and things or, just having a friend try his best to ghost you while still living near you. And you can see him. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I hope he kind of wins that Oscar if another performer that I really loved this year does not. So,
yeah, that's a great pick. And also with versatility. I mean, all the roles are so versatile.
Exactly.
Banshees and After Gang so quiet, and Batman so big, and then 13 Lives somewhere in the middle.
And then his own show, so there you go.
Yeah, and again, kind of like what we talked about Jenna Ortega, he's just a very cool person. Like all the press stuff he's doing. We could also count SNL, his appearance on SNL. Yes. He basically cameoed during Brendan Gleeson's episode of SNL and was hilarious with Brendan Gleeson. So like, I really think he's just having a great year on and off screen. Any other thoughts? I know Matt, you probably wanted this pick. What do you think?
I did want this pick. The Banshees, of course. I mean, he was great, but there's something about his performance, because I think he's great in Martin McDonagh. In Bruges was one of my favorite, like probably one of my 20 favorite movies. Like I love that movie. And he's fantastic in it. I would say that Colin Farrell consistently for years, probably decades, has been an underrated actor. He's been, because he always shows up. There was a time when he was, getting weird press, and there was a time when he was picking a lot of like weird roles that really didn't show off who he was. But every movie he's in, he gives 110%. The fact that we were all sad that that his character in Fantastic Beasts was actually Johnny Depp, because he was the best part of that whole movie, speaks volumes to him as character. But for this year, in Banshees, the way he plays stupid and sympathetic in that movie, it doesn't feel like a caricature. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel exploitative. It doesn't feel like that. It feels completely wholesome and completely authentic. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about that movie is I never feel like I'm watching a person pretending to be dumb or a person pretending to be sad. I'm watching a person who's genuinely confused and probably isn't intelligent enough to understand exactly why he's making this whole thing worse. I think he's brilliant in that. In the Batman, I mean, I've said it many times on this channel. I know the subject matter very well. I thought I did not want him as Penguin. I remember when they cast, I was like, why not get someone who actually is meant to play Penguin. Once I saw that, he was just brilliant. I mean, he had some of the best lines. He had some of the best scenes. He delivered it perfectly. And while he was unrecognizable, there was an absolute Colin Farrell-ness to that role. After Yang is great. He's great in that. It's a very understated performance, so it's hard to really pick out things on that one. And I haven't seen 13 Lives, but I think he's incredible. It was going to be my number one pick for this.
Cool.
So,
yeah, Brian, JD, any thoughts on Colin Farrell?
Yep. As Matt said, Colin Farrell had a great year too. I always see two films, Banshees and Batman. The other two I haven't seen yet, so I can't really say on the other two.
Yeah, but even in those two, he's great. JD,
he's fantastic.
I think everything is said that needs to be said on this. Like even if I don't like After Yang is the one I'm mixed on, but like he's amazing. There's nothing else really to say for me.
Yeah, well, you're going to be talking a little bit more because it's your pick, JD. So let us know what you'd like to pick. You have either the third pick at MVP or the first pick in any of the other categories.
Yeah, I think I have to go TV series because, as I said, I don't watch a lot of TV, and as I said, I refuse to talk choose MCU, and I'm going to stick by that. Otherwise, I don't want to jinx myself. So that leaves two choices, and while I could theoretically choose what Chad was going to choose, I'm not going to do it. I'll be nice. I'm not going to do it because Andor blew me away.
Yeah, Andor's a popular one. Yeah,
I have to go to popular choice on this one. A popular choice on this. Here's the thing. Rogue One goes back and forth between my favorite Star Wars movie one time. There's that and Force Awakens. Those vacillate between my favorite Star Wars movie. But even I can admit that like those characters in that movie are archetypes because it's a mission movie. There's a speed to it. There's a tension. So there's a time limit. Otherwise, they're going to lose this information forever. So he's really just an archetype. And what they do with that, what they do with Diego Luna's Andor character, he's basically a cipher for a bunch of other different characters, and I'm just kind of fascinated by it. Like, you do learn a bit about him, you learn a little bit of background, but he's basically just he's like the sidekick to each character's arc. So in one character's case, he's Debo's sidekick. He's helping that team of rebels do the heist. In another case, he's trying to escape. In another case, he's reading a prison revolt, and he's helping a better prisoner get the courage to lead his fellow men to freedom. I'm just fascinated by that idea, and I'm also fascinated by, this is really the first time we've dealt with kind of the Rogue One dealt with it a little bit, but this really digs into like the gray of Star Wars, the gray of like, well, the rebellion, and that you only like really read in canon, like canon novels. Like, there's a lot of gray with the rebellion and the Empire. Like, and I'm fascinated that you finally see that.
Yeah, I mean that's a great pick. I know it's very popular. I haven't seen it yet, so I am looking.
I haven't seen it yet either. There's also several D+ who also I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah,
and I'll go ahead and say I also haven't seen it. But it was like even though a lot of us haven't seen it, it was still like one of the most popular shows of the year.
It was still on my draft. It was still on my draft board because it was so popular. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, let me just say I'm very excited to finally watch it. So
yes. So JD, you
I can't believe I'm the only one who's seen it. That's
that I have 3 kids. I have an excuse. The rest of you guys.
No. I'm just kind of shocked. I didn't think I would be the only one who has seen it.
But it was a good draft pick. It was a good draft pick because you never knew if anyone had seen it, so you don't want to like risk the chance that someone else could take it.
Not on this panel has seen it, so
and they'll see it number 1 on your ranking, and that's going to help a lot too. Like, I will say that middle of this draft board. So that's
I will say that I did watch the first couple episodes, so I have seen a little bit of it. But the fact that it wasn't drawing me like everyone was saying it was going to draw me, probably due to everyone telling me how much I was going to love it, and I was just like, "This is good," but that's probably why I didn't like rush to go watch the rest of it. And I've also forgotten all of it, so I'm excited to go actually watch it because I've heard such good things about it. I just haven't.
Cool.
It's a slow build, so if you taper off for a bit, then taper off for a bit and you come back to it, I can completely understand why.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. All right, let's go highway to the drafting zone, sir. Brian, what are you going to pick for your first pick?
I'll go with anticipated film of Treasure 3.
Oh, okay. Anticipated. All right.
I love animation, so I'm going to go with the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Super Mario Bros. Movie. Nice pick.
Oh.
Yep. As a huge fan of this game, huge fan of Mario growing up, I'm a bit skeptical of the casting at first. Chris Pratt, not really good casting, but the animation's great. Feels like the most recent trailer that came out recently got me hooked on this film. Like I say, got all the Mario Kart, Raccoon Mario, and I'm curious how Jack Black, perfect casting, very good as Bowser, and I'm curious how Seth Rogen's going to sound Donkey Kong, and I'll see. Curious how the rest of the cast go do the film.
Brian, that is a fantastic pick. I am so excited for that movie. It feels like it could be, I guess, because of also Chris Pratt, the next like Lego movie. Like people are like, I don't know what to expect from this, and then it's gonna blow us all away. Is what I'm thinking. Yeah. And then it's gonna be its own big franchise. So
I was gonna say, Illumination's been on quite a roll. I mean, I love their last few films, Sing 2 and Minions: Rise of Gru. I surprisingly love. So like, I'm really excited for that. And I mean, like Chad said, like they could build a franchise from this. The fact that they haven't made these movies. I mean, they've made a live action one. We're not going to talk about that.
I think it's the 80s, I believe. The last
but they've never done an animated Mario movie for live action or in what am I feature length before. So like, I'm really excited because like Chad said, they could build this. I mean, they could get Detective Pikachu, they could get Mario, they could make a Super Smash Bros. Movie in a few years. Just saying.
Shared universe.
The original voice of Mario appearing in the film and this close voice.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a reason why like they Nintendo took so long before they decided to license movies again. That's all I'll say. But like that being said, I do think this is going to be the next kind of Lego movie kind of phenomenon. And I do think that I'm very picky and choosy about animated movies now just because the demographics that see those kind of movies, even though I think animated movies are for everybody, a lot of the people who see those movies are children, and they're not necessarily the best behaved. So, but that one is one of the few, and I'm like, I gotta go see that in a theater.
Yeah, it's gonna make oodles of money, and there's gonna be a lot of kids in your screening, JD. So bring some earplugs.
Mario,
Exactly.
dude.
Yes.
I mean, it's Mario.
Yeah, it's Mario. Like that's my childhood. My first game system was a Super Nintendo, and the first game I ever played was Super Mario. It came with the Super Nintendo. It was called Super Mario Worlds or whatever, and it was like
Mario World's fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, there's Super Mario World. That's separate, but Super Mario All Stars. That was the first game. It was just a compilation. It came with the Super Nintendo, and it was like the compilation of, besides Super Mario World, it was like Super Mario's 2, Super Mario's 3, and
Lost Levels, which was originally Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You want to know how young I am? My first gaming system from Nintendo was a GameCube.
Get the hell out of here, Dylan.
My first game was Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That was my third.
Matt's like Atari.
Yeah, no, it was 2600. Let me tell you. As soon as I saw Dill's face when he said his first system was the Super Nintendo, I was like, I'm about to blow Dill's mind. But no, so that actually rolls nicely into what I was about to say. As an old man, I grew up with that movie. And Dyl, when you say we're not going to talk about that, you're wrong, because I'm pretty sure in April you and I are going to talk about that movie.
Oh wow, that's soon. Oh, for this one that comes out, I get it. A double feature.
Unlike Wazamo, here you go, Dyl.
All right. Say no more.
Dyl, all I have to say is you're in for a treat.
I can't wait.
So I actually owned that on VHS.
Unsurprisingly, due to the show I have on this channel, I actually really love the Super Mario Brothers movie, but for the wrong reasons, of course. But I grew up watching the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yes.
When I was growing up, Super Smash Bros. Was a thing. So culturally, there were these other touchstones for this, like those shows. Nintendo put out this cereal that had 2 bags in it. One bag was Mario Brothers cereal. The other bag was Legend of Zelda cereal in one box. 2 bags in one box. So that was me growing up. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be Lego Movie. I think it's going to be the next Lego movie. I agree. I think it looks funny. I'm excited for them to expand the world, to finally get like a good Legend of Zelda animated movie out of it. Like that, those animated stuff when I was growing up was awful. So I'm excited about getting potentially getting that. But yeah, I'm excited about this movie. I think it'll be good.
All right, close us out, Matt. First round, let's go.
I had one that I was like, this is absolutely the first thing, and then the rest of them are just like, I don't know. I'm good with whatever else I get. So I am, gosh. And the other ones I'm kind of oscillating between. So I'm just going to go with series, because I feel like that's the easiest one for me to choose right now. And I'm lying to you. I'm not choosing series. I'm actually going to go with I'm going to go with series. You never know where I'm going. I'm going to go with Severance, the series.
Ooh,
Severance,
okay.
the season 1 of Severance.
Oh,
nice.
I forgot.
Nice pick.
I was blown away by this. I didn't know anything about it, and one day I fired up the old Apple TV and it was like, oh, Adam Scott. I love Adam Scott. So I started watching it, and I had no idea what was going on. And this is the great thing. I love going into movies blind. Sometimes I'll go to a series blind. The less I know about it, the happier I am. I'm glad I never saw anything about this series, because I had no idea what was going on for the first episode, which is exactly where I wanted to be. Like, if I had known actually what was happening, it might have taken away some of the mystery and some of the spark for it. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend not reading anything about it, just going and watching it. Awesome. But what ended up unfolding was like this really interesting concept that I had never really thought about before. This like, I guess it's high concept sci-fi, because it's easy to explain, is what you would do that. So it's pretty subtle sci-fi, but it is. And it's got these really interesting characters and these really interesting moments with these characters. It completely engaging. Once I was done with it, I was like, I want season 2 right now. And I was very upset. I hate when I catch up to a show that is currently airing and then I have to wait for the next episodes. And then that series ends, and I'm like, oh God, now I have to wait for for the next season to come out. Binging has ruined me. But that's how it was with this, is that I started after it had already been on for a little while. By the time I caught up, I was like, oh God, I have to wait a whole week for the next episode. And then it was, So watch the show, learn as little as you can about it. I really love this show, and it's my favorite series of 2022.
It's great. The only thing I'll add, I love Patricia Arquette in it, but I don't want to say more because I don't want to spoil it. So
she's great.
Great pick.
The whole cast is great. Like Zach Cherry's also in it. He's awesome. He's great.
Yeah, Severance. It's interesting with 2022 because I feel like many of the shows you can say that was the show of 2022. I feel like Andor was, and also Severance was. Severance would have been my number 2 pick if my number 1 had been chosen, but it just has like the best cast. It has, like you said, just such high concept sci-fi that's just so like confusing. It like takes a little bit to build, but like once you finally get there, it was all worth it. And then at the very end, like you said, you're just wanting more. It really was a very special show, and I can't wait for season 2 as well.
Cool. All right, Matt, you get another one now. So, or unless JD or Brian have anything to say?
Nope,
sorry.
Nothing.
Again, I think you said all that needs to be said about Severance.
Cool. Let's continue on though. Round 2, Matt, you get it to start because it's snaked. What are you going to go with? Your series is off the board.
I think I'm going to go with the next one that it's funny because these are the two that I had the least like strong feelings about, these 2 categories, but I'm doing them now because I can't really decide about amongst the other ones. So what I'm doing here is the next is anticipated of 2023. Okay. And this one, the only reason I say I didn't care much about this one is because any of them, like basically I'm excited to see everything. But what happens to be at the top of my list here is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Nice.
Growing again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so it was for me, this was my action franchise. It was my it's probably still like Lord of the Rings is my favorite like trilogy, but this is like my favorite like action franchise, if we want to call it an action franchise, if we want to categorize them like that. This growing up, especially the first and the third ones, are among my favorite movies of all time. I watched Last Crusade so many times. I even, when people would be like, what book do you want? I would ask my mom and other people, like, can you get me Dr. Jones's Grail Diary? And not knowing that didn't exist and not really caring, because that's what I wanted to read. Please get me the diary that Dr. Jones writes all of his Grail stuff in. But anyway, so I love those movies. I will also say that when the 4th one came out, I went and saw it in theater, and me and a group of my friends all came out very happy with what we had just seen. Excited, talking about it. There wasn't a whole lot of backlash for a little while, and then suddenly everyone hated it. But I never really strayed for that. And I will say that if you don't love the 4th Indiana Jones movie, but you love the other ones, I would recommend doing a marathon. Watch all 4 in a row and tell me that they aren't that 4th one isn't that isn't exactly like the other ones. It's consistent in tone, in quality, across the board. Yes, the ending is weird, but so is the ending of Temple of Doom. And although actually the ending of Temple of Doom is great, the first 2 acts of Temple of Doom are like really weird. So it's not like everything in these are perfect. Anyway, I digress. I'm very excited about this movie. I love Harrison Ford. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. I'm excited for him to get back in there. I love oh my God, what's her name? I love Fleabag.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Thank you. I love her. I'm very excited for this movie.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It wasn't on my radar, but I like it. Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones 5, yes. The thing about this one is I'm very excited because I'm interested in the change of director. It's never been directed by anyone else before, and now it's James Mangold. So I'm just trying to figure out, because he directed Logan, and I'm like, Indy 5 is going to be kind of like the old man for Indy. Did you already say this?
I didn't. I actually forgot to mention Mangold altogether. So thank you.
Because then I'm that's kind of like my draw is like people are kind of like posting the memes like Indiana Jones and the nap or whatever because he's old. So to get it, the old joke with Harrison Ford. But it's like they did great with like the old man Logan type of thing from like the comics with Logan. So I'm like, I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. And if you loved Indy 4, well, I think you're probably going to get a lot of the stuff you loved from that. But if you hated it or you just didn't really enjoy it as much as the other ones, you're going to get something new here too. So that's a fantastic pick, man.
Yeah, good pick. Anyone else? Indiana Jones thoughts?
Yeah, for me, it's I quite enjoy change director. I mean, I think Spielberg was moving away from blockbusters to his own personal work, so that maybe that's why they changed directors. And I haven't seen the films in a while, so I might be watching a Paramount Plus, which is on there for me. So, and I'm curious if they're going to bring back maybe a showdown for a quick cameo, which would be good.
Maybe. I mean, he's
so.
he's available now. He's working again.
Yeah,
that'd be quite something to see. I don't know if the way the shooting schedule worked out, if they would have snagged him by now or not. But if it was too late by the time he started blowing up again. But if they make a sixth one or they make a spinoff, you never know.
Or a TV series.
He even mentioned his old role in his speeches, so it's like he'd be down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. JD, any thoughts?
All I'll say is if the rumors are true, and that the Dial of Destiny has a, let's say,
scientific.
Yeah,
is that what you're going for? I'm on. Yeah, I'm on.
Yes, scientific. Maybe beyond natural results. Then I'm kind of very intrigued. The trailers kind of hint at it. I'm kind of intrigued.
I mean,
about how this is going to go.
You're going with this, JD. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool, but I don't know.
I think it's kind of cool if that's where they're going to go with it. But that's all I'm going to say.
I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to ruin anyone who hasn't seen the trailer.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
I mean, I think that there's an understanding just based on even the title, what you're saying here. But I will say that when you say beyond natural, I mean, that's the thing about Indiana Jones, isn't it? He's always looking for the thing that's beyond natural. Right. Like it's all this is the thing. Like I love people have complained about the title Dial of Destiny. I think it's because this series was based on the old 1930s, 1940s serials. You would go to a theater and you would watch like a 15-minute movie, and then they would say, "Come back next week for the thrilling conclusion." And they all had names like Alan Quartermain and the staff of whatever and stuff like that. Dial of Destiny is completely in line with that. It sounds exactly like a 1940s serial title, and I'm very excited. And yes, I think it probably has something to do with that, JD. But I don't know. I'm not expecting anything except for an Indiana Jones movie.
No. I'm just not going to say what it is, but I'm just saying it's going to be. If it is, that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, Harry Potter did it. Avengers did it. I mean, they all have done it. So we'll see. Speaking of, I was going to segue. I was just going to segue. Let's go back in the order and go back to Brian. I was trying to segue it. So.
For me, I'll go with series on this one. I'm going to pick a sitcom that surprised me the heck a lot. I'm going to go with Abbott Elementary.
Ooh, nice pick.
One of my favorite sitcoms of the year. Great. It's a great unique cast. We got some unknown people with Joel James, Christian Brunson, who created the series. Even got the guy who played Chris Tyler James Williams in the series. I love my favorite character is part of the principal. Her quirky lines.
Jamila Jones.
James. Yep.
Shirley
Ralph. Great as Barbara Howard, and I find my favorite workplace documentary series that's been out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. So,
as with probably all of the series today, I will, except for mine, I will not have seen it, so I haven't seen it.
Very interesting. This is one I also love, Brian. I'm so glad you picked it because, I don't know if I was going to. It depended on how things shake out, but like Abbott Elementary, it was such a surprise. Like even before I started watching it, like people were like it was winning Emmys and and then Golden Globes later, and after I'd seen it, and now I'm all caught up with season 2, and it feels like just like the next great sitcom that they made, and it's like following like an inner city school, and you get to see like all of the problems that comes with it. It's like a predominantly African American school, and you can see just how they struggle with getting funding. They struggle with just like getting attention and just like having like that kind of buying power to get computers. Like they in one episode they end up going to another school and they see like all these kids have like a full computer lab and they're like, we don't even have one computer. And so and then it's just like showing other episodes showing stuff about like how having a gifted program can kind of be problematic and kind of make other kids feel left out. And so while it's has all that deep stuff, it's also extremely hilarious. And then they build these characters so well that you feel like you like know them. And it's just a great show that I'm excited for everyone here to watch if you haven't seen it, and everyone watching as well.
I'm
Please
excited to watch it. I just haven't.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, me too. All right, JD. JD, you got the third pick of this round as well. What are you going to go for? TV's off the board for you.
Yes. So I think I have to go MVP for the next pick.
Okay.
I think I need to have a strong pick, and or at least people would see the name and they'll know what it is. So, and it would be a way to honor a movie that I really liked that otherwise I wouldn't choose for anything else. So I'm going to say Brad Pitt.
Oh, okay.
For MVP.
Interesting.
So yeah, just to rattle it
So
off, that includes he did oh my
Right.
god, Bullet Train, Babylon. He produced She Said, Women Talking, and Blonde. So I mean, yeah, he's got.
He was a really good
cameo in
producer.
The Lost City.
Yes, that too, The Lost City.
So yeah, so he was in 3 movies this year, and then he produced a bunch of other ones. So, I think a lot of people have lately. A lot of people said, "Oh, Brad Pitt's not really a good actor. He's a good movie star, but he's not an actor." And to that, I say, that's a bunch of crock. So, and I think this year proved it. You just need to. He has a very specific skill set. He has this very like Zen, like stoic kind of quality that I don't think not every filmmaker knows how to use. But I think they've used it very well this year. And when you look at you look at like the cameo at Lost City where he's supposed to be, he appears as the woman that the guy that Sandra Bullock believes his character should be in like her books and stuff. And then but then immediately dies or disappears. And then, or Bullet Train where they use that same Zen like stoic persona to, and then he's insecure to, masked insecurity. Same thing with Babylon, which Babylon to me, like, I still think he could sneak in for Babylon. Babylon is like one of my top 12 films of the year. It's
for Oscars. You're saying sneak in for Oscars?
Yes. Supporting actor. I think he's a dark horse still. I don't know if he's going to make it, but I think he is, because just the way, like, for people who haven't seen it, I won't give much, but like they use that persona to kind of hide the fact that he can't be who he wants to be in 1920s Hollywood. And that is why that's why he gravitated to the Hollywood lifestyle, because otherwise, let's just say LGBTQ wasn't necessarily acceptable in 1920s Hollywood. So otherwise, he couldn't be the flamboyant person he wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously the LGBT thing isn't true with this example, but it reminded me a lot of Bradley Cooper's arc in Star is Born. Like the idea of someone who really wants to do the art they love, but can't for certain reasons because other things hold them back, or they have other, things, demons going on in their lives. And it's definitely a similar trajectory.
And I appreciate how subtle that is played. It is not played for, like, a lot of things could ham-fisted it, but it's all in the performance that he can piece that together, and I kind of really appreciated that performance.
Yeah,
so in general, yes, I will say he's my MVP.
Yeah, great year. Anyone else?
I'll say that I'm one of those people who doesn't think Brad Pitt's like a great actor, but I do think that he is great in, like, he certainly improves movies that he is in. I will say that in Babylon, his character was born in Shawnee, Oklahoma, which is true about him as well. And I'm from Oklahoma, so cool. That's he's a home state boy for me. But I haven't seen Bullet Train. I thought that he was exactly who he should be in those other movies, and let me explain. Because there's a scene, and I don't want to give it away, in Babylon, where he is used as an example of a silent film star doing a talkie, and it does not go over well. Yes. But the great thing about that is that Brad Pitt wasn't pretending to be bad at acting in that scene. He was completely being Brad Pitt. And I think that really shows something about how Hollywood changes, because I think they could have made him do something that was like, this is the thing that was wrong with that scene, but they didn't. He was being Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too. Yeah.
Eventually, being Brad Pitt again is going to be a good thing in Hollywood again. In the timeline, I'm saying it is good now. I'm saying that like they're showing that like that's not what Hollywood needed at the time. There came a point where we needed a Brad Pitt. So I think that the choices that he has made this year really play to his strengths and really improve the movies it in. Again, I haven't seen Bullet Train yet, even though everybody keeps telling me to. It's not because I don't want to. I hear this. I just haven't seen it yet. But I think that he was exactly who he needed to be this year. So I think that even though it would not have been one of my picks, I think it's a fine pick, JD.
I also think it's a really good pick. I'm a pretty big Brad Pitt fan to an extent. I really enjoy everything that he's in, pretty much. Except I haven't seen Babylon, but I have seen Bullet Train, and I think he really made Bullet Train. Like, there's a lot of like great like side performances in Bullet Train, but I think just him being kind of like a Jack Sparrow like character where he's kind of like fumbling around a lot, right? He's kind of fumbling around a lot, and like, when something happens to him with a certain animal, that's really, really, really funny. And I know, right? He's really, really great in it, and I think if he weren't in that movie, it's already not like a great movie, but I think it's just really, really good because he's in it. So, and he's kind of like a baller producer. So
that's enough.
I will give him that.
Yeah. All right.
He at least hitches his wagon to good trains. At least.
Yeah. Good trains. I get it. All right. Chad,
that's not that. I was not making that joke. Don't put that on me.
You're next up. You already took your MVP, and just three series are already off the board. So it's just me and you for series. So keep that in mind.
I already have that in mind. When the gears are turning a lot of the times when I'm like, wait, Dylan. What's Dylan gonna pick with this?
I'm getting two picks after you, so I
know.
Hope I don't pick your series. I don't think I will.
We'll see. I don't know. I think most people seem to know what my series is probably going to be. But I'm gonna go with my movie now, because I think the other categories are like a little bit deeper. There's a lot of great movies that came out this year. Let's not, no one's picked one yet. And I thought like there's probably like a 1-1 that everybody thinks someone's gonna pick at some point, but I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick a different one that really surprised me, and it is Rob Zombie's no, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, I was like, I know your favorite film of the year is the 1-1. So the fact that you were going to pivot away from that, I was like, holy crap.
I did that just to see that look on Matt's face, and it paid off. So there you go. No, I'm going to pick what was my favorite film of this year, and it is Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, that's the 1-1, dude. Yeah, that's it.
I think it is. I think it is for me. There's another one and another maybe 2 or 3 that are just extremely popular that anyone could have gone with. It could have been any one of these, but you guys knowing me, I mean, I got like the Top Gun like popcorn thing in the background. I had to grab. This was just such a surprise, and it's like you had great like indie films come out, but then this one came out, and it was like, you know, where you want to cheer for the indie ones, but then this one is just such a great, heartfelt kind of throwback, but also like nuanced, like new big blockbuster film that came out that people could get behind, love, and cheer. There's so many different moments that people could end up choosing here from this film, because there's a lot of like cheer-worthy moments, just a lot of like sad, deep ones too. Like you get like a really great, like, you know, nod to an actor in this movie that's not doing so well today. And yeah, there's just a lot to really love about this film. And just to see that Tom Cruise, you know, say what you will about him as a person, as an actor, whatever, but like just the way this man just like is kind of like the other Jackie Chan, who's like getting these films made, pushing the boundaries of like what's possible in action and film and stuff like that. Like, you know, it's not just a gimmick for like the next Mission Impossible movie. Like, what's he gonna do now? It's the gimmick. It's gonna be the cliffhanger thing at the end of the trailer that happens. Like, yeah, it's gonna be that, but it's also gonna be one of the best things you've ever seen, and it usually is in every Mission Impossible. And now he's brought that Mission Impossible Tom Cruise, Christopher McQuarrie team to Top Gun Maverick. And just the way that they did all of these sequences in the jets, like for real, just like really just like making you feel like you're there, like, you know, experiencing those like 5Gs or whatever amount of G's you're experiencing like in the theater with them. It's just so incredible. It's one of the best theater experiences you could have had this year. And if you didn't, hopefully they'll re-release it at some point. You can have that again. But I adore this film, and yep, I had to pick this one for sure.
Yeah,
Rob Zombie did make an interesting Monsters movie, though. It's pretty funny. Check it out.
It's great. Yeah, I think that was not the clear like 1-1 in the draft, but like for movies, like I figured if it didn't go first, it was gonna go second. Like it's one of the biggest movies of the year, and because it is, like you said, like a surprise, I think that also plays well. I mean, it was such a massive hit for a reason. It's not just because it's popular; it's because it's also really, really fucking good. So that's a great pick. Anyone else have thoughts on Top Gun?
Yeah, for me, this was a surprise. Like, throughout the year, we didn't get that big blockbuster until with this film. Good thing was that Tom Cruise was pushing for it to be theater not for streaming service, all for streaming. And see how well it did now. You get great nods to the original with the music and the how the danger zone sequence. As maybe we could get this film for maybe a Best Picture nomination. Never know.
Yeah, they could.
I think it's kind of a lock at this point, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's in. Yeah, definitely. Not, I don't want to say definitely, but yeah, I think it's pretty certain it'll get nominated for Best Picture, which is crazy because if you had told me Top Gun Maverick was getting nominated in January for Best Picture, if you told me that, or I'm not going to list off movies, but like there's 2 big blockbusters, big like huge moneymakers this year that are gonna get nominated for Best Picture. I'm like, if you told me in January, I would have been like, no way.
It's been used for a long time,
one of them,
I think, like August.
And it Maverick probably has a legit shot to win. Like, I don't know if it is going to win, but it has a legit shot.
Hey, if it takes PGA and, you know, gets that director nomination at the Oscars, I think there's a good chance, because I think it's getting editing, and I think that'll help a lot too. So we'll see.
Okay. As a young man in the late 80s,
God,
we watched this movie a lot in my house. We had it on VHS. I can't imagine my kids wanting to or enjoying watching this movie now that I think about it back to it, but I did a lot. Or the original. And I always loved Maverick. Like he was my guy. I watched it recently and realized, wow, Iceman was right. This dude is dangerous. So I was like, man, that's what growing up is, I think. But so I went into this excited but skeptical because I'm not really into like military movies or like pro-military movies. Like I dig some like war movies, but like big like felt like military propaganda movies. I'm not really into those. I'm into the Mission Impossible movies, but like Tom Cruise isn't really a draw for me anymore. I knew what was going on with Val Kilmer, so I was like, okay, so he's not going to be in this movie. And let me tell you that when I tell you I was blown away by this movie, you're right. It was one of the best theatrical experiences. It's the best theatrical experience of the year. It was the most tense I have been in a movie in a very long time. And part of that had to do with what was happening on screen. Part of it was knowing that these were real people doing these real things part of the time. But it was so tense and it was so beautifully executed. I tell you, Joseph, what's his name? Oh my God, it's
Kosinski.
Joseph Kosinski. I didn't really know anything about him, but this dude crafted a really incredible experience out that I think would have been handled worse in other hands, including the original hands of that are. And I'm not speaking ill of the dead. I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I don't think Tony Scott would have made this movie that we got. Like, and I love Tony Scott. I just don't think he would have made this movie. And I don't know that it would have been so I think that in other hands, this could have been a much bigger disaster. And it ended up being a really fun movie that I very much enjoy and is in my top 5 movies of the year, which shocks me.
Yeah, I don't even really love the first movie like at all. Like, so
I don't love it anymore, but I loved it back then. Like I watched it a lot.
This is gonna blow your guys' mind. So I did not actually watch Top Gun Maverick or the first Top Gun. I want to say till about 6 months ago.
Oh,
wow. I've seen pieces like obviously when I was a kid growing up, it was on, there was a thing called channel flipping, people who have, people nowadays, kids these nowadays, they have streaming, they don't remember what that was, but, back in my day, there was table flipping and, I'd seen pieces bits and pieces, of Top Gun, but I don't think I had never watched Top Gun all the way through ever until about 6 months ago. And I had to say, I was like, I don't get it. I was watching it, and I'm like when you don't have that context of like the 80s of like all that, like you're right, you just like this is a shit. It's such a cheesy 80s movie. But then you watch this, and it's like, okay, I think this is the movie I was expecting when everybody was like typing up Top Gun Maverick, first Top Gun, when I was a child.
It's funny because like I think a lot of people dock the first one. A lot of their complaints is like it's too cheesy or it's too homoerotic. Yet Joseph Kosinski's like, I'm gonna lean into the homoeroticism, and that beach scene is it's so good.
I was so glad
why that song isn't the one they picked for best original song, I do not know.
That's
Republic, they rock.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the true love story of Top Gun is Iceman and Maverick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's true.
And also, the last act was like the best Star Wars sequence for the last act.
Yeah, very Star Wars. Very Star Wars.
You were gonna say it's Goose and Maverick?
No, I was going to agree with you in that it's a Goose and Maverick love story that turns into an Iceman and Maverick love story.
I love it. It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Everything you all have said. I'm gonna just keep this going because I know we only have like a little over a half hour left. So we're gonna get through this. But my final pick for this second round, I am going with my film. This is probably a little bit of a cliche if you know me, but favorite director of all time is Steven Spielberg, and he made a movie that I don't believe to be just the best movie of the year, but also I think a movie that is an essential skeleton to everything he's done before, and that is The Fabelmans. I really think when you watch through his filmography, it's so amazing, and there's so many different themes about child-parent relationships and just growing up and being a kid, but also, as much as we like to look at these films as like films of wonder and magic and enchantment and like these big groundbreaking blockbusters of nostalgia, there's a lot of darkness in a lot of those films. And I think The Fabelmans is important in kind of understanding the darkness in all of those films, to where it almost feels like therapeutic of Steven Spielberg to like kind of bare his all and show his whole raw, authentic self. He just lost his dad a few years ago. I don't think he ever makes this movie while his parents are still alive. I think it's too raw, too fresh. But he did say in his Golden Globe speech, he was like, I've always wanted to tell this story, but I've always been too scared to. And now I'm 72, and I realized I was like, I have to do this, or maybe even older than 72. But he's got to do it because time's ticking. And I think that's kind of a great mindset when you have something that's been brewing for so long. You just make the movie, make the movie you're passionate about. I think about Total 180, but the recent horror movie that just came out, Skinamarink. It was made for the lowest of budgets. It's like, if you have an idea in your mind, even if it's the lowest budget, make that movie because you never know. And the fact that this movie that these guys just put together, Skinamarink, for like a few bucks ends up now making 10 times its budget is amazing. And I think that's an example of just like, get out and make the movie, take the risk. And Fabelmans, it's the same thing of like, just make that movie because you never know who it's going to speak to. And I think it's essential for his filmography. It is the essential backbone to everything that came before it. I think it makes E.T. better. I think it makes Close Encounters better. I think it makes a lot of his films, AI, better, because now you can see a lot of the reason why it is. And I think that's so brilliant. So
just real quick, and then I'll let JD go. Dylan, I think that's probably going to end up being our best picture of the year. It just really feels that way.
The Oscars, or for Picture This?
No, for best picture. I would never
Oscars?
give away Picture This picks already, but it just feels like the movie. It's so personal to Steven. It is about film, but it's also about his like personal life, and it like he goes so deep into that, like telling a lot of things about like his parents and his uncle and a lot of this stuff, and it just like really feels like so deep but like also grand at the same time. And I think it's a really beautiful film. It's a great pick.
I was gonna say we Chad will talk about it more on Picture This, assuming it gets nominated, which I think it will. But just one last thing I wanted to bring up for everyone who's saying, oh, it's just a movie that's self-indulgent about like, oh, aren't movies great? If you watch that movie, it's the opposite. That Judd Hirsch scene is essential in showing why this is not a movie about the magic of the movies. This is a movie about why the movies are terrifying. They're portals into the truths of our lives that we're afraid to look at with our own eyes. And I think that is so brilliant. And those who are just watching and dismissing it as, oh, it's this movie about the magic of the movies, they're missing the point. And I hate to say that because I never like that criticism of, you're missing the point, but you're missing the point. Like, this is, I think it's more of a tragedy. It's seeing how film can consume you if you look at everything through a camera, and it can unfold some dark secrets that you didn't want to confront. And I think that's the power of this movie. I love it so much. JD.
Yeah. I just had to say, I had to say something about this because I've heard that criticism, and as a Jewish kid grow at one point in time who grew up, who has struggled with his religion and his identity as a Jewish person, because it's one of those few religions where it's like an ethnicity and a religion. I never felt more seen in kind of this movie. Just the way that like some of those family dinners, those were my family dinners. The scene early on in the movie where they're like, oh, which house is ours? Ours is the one with no lights. And then later, like, this in-laws, and they're arguing about the kugel, and like, they're, the fact that maybe they should have married somebody else, like, and the disgruntled in-laws, like all of that. And then the thing that was most made fun of is like, for a little bit it becomes like, this farce of like, oh, he hates an overly Catholic girl, and it's like, well, when you're struggling with your identity and people are bullying you for who you are, like sometimes you're gonna take a weird left turn and explore other cultures. Like I just and move away from it. To me, that made what people were saying that was a farce. I'm like, no, that makes total sense to me. I didn't. That's not the way I went when I was struggling with it. But like that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Fabelmans?
Yep, it was number one of the year actually. This is the film I went.
Glad I picked it now.
Yeah, this is the film I went to, knowing nothing much, and it's a good, relaxing film, good feel-good movie. This is, I would say, Seth Rogen's best film. That's not a comedy, best performance.
Yeah, he's a great understated performance too in this, because you've got to understand as a viewer why she loves him, but also why you also have to kind of feel that disdain for him as well, because he's he's a major point of conflict. But is he? And that's the thing. It's a question. Is it a conflict, or is that just, I don't know. It's so good. Matt, any words on Fabelmans?
Yeah, I will. I really liked this movie. I will say that with some of what you guys were talking about, the criticism of what people thought it was, I will say that as someone who really likes those type of movies, I think I would have enjoyed. It would have met my expectation more if it had been a movie about the industry filleting itself. It ended up being something more interesting. And that's kind of why it didn't connect with me quite as well at first. I think on second
it was
viewing,
surprising. Yeah,
right. I think on second viewing, I'm going to enjoy it more, because the first viewing I was like, where's my movie about the love of film? And that ended up not being what it was. But there was so much in it that I really did like, and I think that again on second viewing, I'm going to really enjoy it. I also think that people give a really hard time to Michelle Williams's performance, and I think it makes complete sense for the time period and the type of person she was.
Yep. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I got to fix my horizon.
And also, great use of the effort too with David Lynch.
Yep. All right. Cool. So I get another pick. Wow. All right. No one's picked a scene, and I know Chad isn't going to pick my TV show, and I don't know what my most anticipated is yet, so I'm going to pick my scene now. Unless Chad does pick my TV show, I'd be gobsmacked.
No, I'm not going to, because I know what it is.
Chad was talking about Top Gun. He was talking about like the action. There's so many scenes you could pick. There's so much action. There's so much high velocity. And I'm going through all these scenes on my list that are like high velocity and action packed and just give you that thrill and that excitement, kind of the homoeroticism, that brotherly camaraderie, the bromance of it all. And so that is why I'm picking the bridge rescue from RRR. I think it is the best culmination. See what I did there, Matt? See, I kind of segued it. This is I love Top Gun, and I think it's because I can't pick a scene from Top Gun that I'm going to kind of pivot 180, but it does all the same things for me that Top Gun does. It's this thrilling rescue. This is essentially the moment where the bromance begins. For anyone who hasn't seen RRR, it's an Indian film. It's freaking excellent, but it's a great action sequence because of just the way it's filmed. It's larger than life. It doesn't make any physical sense, like in terms of physics, like the whole like swinging back and forth and rescuing the kid with the bridge, and the fact that he can see him from like a mile away while he's on the bridge, and then the guy on the shore, and they're looking at each other. It's so dramatic and melodramatic, but it's also freaking perfect. And when I was looking at all these scenes, I think there are scenes I like better on this list. There's a scene from The Fabelmans, which is my favorite of the year, but because I just picked the movie, I didn't want to pick The Fabelmans 2 in a row, and because Chad had just talked about Top Gun, I didn't want to pick another Top Gun pick because I want to spread the wealth. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick this one because this is, of all the scenes in RRR, the one that I'm most like, yeah. And it kind of sets the whole themes in motion of this bromance and the idea that they work together even though they shouldn't because of what society has set them up to be. If you haven't seen RRR, guys, it's a trip. I know most of us have, but you haven't seen it, Brian? You should.
No, I'm not a big fan of the horror films, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
watch
okay.
it.
It's one of those movies that, like, even though it's a foreign film, I even think the dub is on Netflix.
Oh,
When I started
dude.
watching it, it started playing the English dub. I was like, "What is going on?"
You'll
There's
fall.
also like
you-
half of the
you can watch
movie
the
is in
dub.
English anyway. Like,
Yes, because it
it's
deals with a lot of British
Okay.
politics. and
yeah,
all
it's
that stuff.
it's about the colonization. Let me say this: if you are watching RRR, you've got to leave the idea of how is that physically possible at the door,
Yeah.
For
and you're
every
gonna
scene.
have a great for every scene, and you're gonna have a great time. I
Yeah.
love this movie. It's
Yeah.
it's one of my favorites of the year. I think it's also in my top 5 of the year. I adore this movie. I just showed my wife a scene from it today as I was trying to pick scenes. I was like, I want to rewatch this scene, so I rewatched a scene, and oh my god, I didn't rewatch that scene, but I should have because that was the moment in the movie where I was like, okay, this is it. This is
Yeah,
I
that's
understand.
kind of
and
why I
this
picked it,
is-
because I was like, there's other scenes, even more action scenes that I think are even better, but like this
Yeah.
one is the most like thematically like satisfying for me.
This sets. I mean, it happens. I mean, it happens a little bit into the movie, and there's some other things in it that happen that are just as bombastic and crazy, but this scene sets the tone. This shows you what it is. This shows you what's going on. This is the thesis for this movie, and I absolutely love that scene. And yes, it's and again, everything about it, to the telescopic vision that they appear to have.
You get to see each other. That's the funniest thing to me, because it's also great comedy. I'm like, these two guys are standing at one another like,
Yeah.
and that
like, oh, it's just so funny.
and that
Oh.
somehow they recognize the very subtle facial movements to say that to be in a to communicate with non-verbally only with facial movements. Like, it's incredible. I love this scene so much. So yeah,
I'm gonna let Chad talk, because I did kind of pull a 180 on you, Chad, by setting it up like I was gonna pick a Top Gun scene. I kind of planned that ahead. I was like, wouldn't it be fun if I hype up this crazy action sequence and I pick one from a different movie? Because action is so good this year. The action in all these movies is so good.
Well, Dylan, you were kind of a little bit following my lead when I faked out with the Munsters, but
Right. I didn't have a T-shirt to do that, so
right. No, RRR. I heard so much about it, like before I actually saw it, and then I was like, you know what? And I talked to the wife. She's been on the show. I was like, Carrie, do you just want to watch RRR? And she's like, I don't know what that is. And then we both watched it. 3 hours later, we were both dancing, like, laughing, and just like, like, wow, that was probably one of the best movies ever. And we were just like, this is fantastic. And that sequence that you picked is probably the best one, because it's a very like fun, funny, just like really cool, cheerworthy, because they do save a kid, and then like the whole bromance
coming in and out of the smoke too. Yeah, the
and you're
holding
just
of
not-
hands. Oh, it's so
you're just not expecting like them to form a bromance, really, and then like it happens, and then you're like, oh, that's when I think the movie just really starts to get interesting, because it's such a cute bromance.
yes,
And-
I
and
agree.
it-
Hey, Dill, when
Oh.
you're choosing best couples for the Pickle Awards, I want you to seriously consider this one for this scene alone.
Yeah, if it makes the lineup, this will be the clip I choose for it.
Yeah,
And this will probably be up for best action sequence, along with probably 4 Top Gun scenes. So
and Brian, please check this freaking movie out. You will not regret it.
I'll probably check before the Oscars, so.
cool. JD, have you seen this one?
So here's the thing.
Uh-oh. Are you about to give this an FFF?
I want to. I know I will love this movie. It's a 3-hour movie, and I just want to give it my full attention. Like, I don't want to take a break. I just want to watch it all the way through.
Mhm.
So it's hard to find 3 hours. That
I will say that it is split up into 3
times, but it's hard to find 3 hours.
Yeah, it is split up, like Matt was saying.
I will say it's split up into 3. The 3 R's split up the movie, so it is easy to break up if you have to do that. But I understand.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you gotta watch
because I watched the Honest Trailer also, and then they're like, that's like the 3 R's are like the big, and then when it comes together, that's like the big review, and I'm like, no, I don't want to break that up.
Yeah, so that's my scene. Again, I sent Chad a little bit of a sample of my list, and after I sent Chad the sample, I added 10 more scenes to it.
There you go.
Like I really have so many scenes. I'm like, I don't know what to pick. So I just went with one that I think is gonna play well and is probably the most fun of all my picks. Because I have some depressing ones on there. I know not everyone, no one else here has seen it, so I'm gonna say it right now. One of my honorable mentions was the final scene of After Sun, which is depressing. So all right. Moving on to Chad. He already has his MVP in his film. He can get a scene, a TV show, or most anticipated. What would you like?
I'm just gonna go ahead and do my show now. I think everybody pretty much knows what the show is, and it's not a new show from 2022. Well, I feel like a couple at least do, or at least Dylan does.
I know.
Yeah, it's no surprise. I'm not gonna pick something else other than one of the greatest shows that's ever been made, Better Call Saul. I mean,
I'm trying to find my shocked. I'm trying to get together my shocked face.
There's no way. I mean, I don't know, like, how many people love this show as much as I do, but Dylan and Matt and JD probably all know when I'm watching these award shows and this freaking show just has been snubbed over and over and over, not for nominations, but just for wins. It's like it's the show. It's like The Crown. It's like all these shows that should be just sweeping and making all the other shows go like, when is it going to be my turn? Well, after you have more than one season, it'll be your turn. But no, all the shows with just one season are like, I'm going to go ahead and win above you. And it's like, no, that is the show. It's one of the greatest shows ever made. Not just because it's a perfect show, but also because it was just such a surprise. It's such an unexpected show. Vince Gilligan made Breaking Bad, probably the greatest show ever made, or at least right up there with The Sopranos. Dylan, I know what you're gonna say, but then he's like, I'm gonna take one character, do a spinoff. I'm gonna Frasier this bitch, and make a show about Saul, and no one thinks it's gonna work, and then it's incredible. And a lot of people even say, and I'm not one of these, but a lot of people say it's better than Breaking Bad. And even though I disagree, I freaking adore the show. I think like every scene, every shot, every just thing pays off in the end. And this was the year 2022 that season 6, the final season, came out. It was epic. If you waited on at the edge of your seat for season 5 Breaking Bad, it's the same thing with Better Call Saul here. It was incredible, and I'm so excited for somebody like Dyl, who hasn't seen any of it, to actually be able to now binge the show and just like fall in love with it. And then I can't wait to wait a little bit and then fall in love with it all over again, like I've done so many times with Breaking Bad and a lot of my other favorite shows. One that's right behind me right now. But this season was so incredible. It wrapped up one of the greatest shows ever made. No shade to a lot of the new shows that have come out. There's been a lot of great TV in 2022, and I'm excited to see what the other people who haven't picked a show yet have left to pick. But I just had to give just you. That's right. I just had to give this my some attention because I feel like it's being ignored. And then hopefully they have one more
Critics' Choice. Critics' Choice just gave it a lot.
That's good. And then hopefully they ride that into the next Emmy season because I think hopefully they do it justice. It starts to sweep everything as it should. They need to give Reese Horn her due, Bob his due, and I freaking adore the show. I could go on for a long time and do my own podcast about this, but I'm gonna let you guys talk about it or not.
I haven't seen it, so I can't talk about it.
I will say that I don't think of it as the Frasier. He went and did a Frasier. I do think of it as Laverne and Shirley, though. I'm kidding. I haven't watched this season. My wife's telling me to quiet down.
I'm glad I didn't spoil anything.
I haven't watched this season yet, so I'm excited to do that. But I do love it. I love Breaking Bad, and I actually enjoy watching Better Call Saul more than I enjoyed watching Breaking Bad. Although I think Breaking Bad is one of the greatest shows of all time. Also, that one behind you is one of the greatest shows of all time. But I actually enjoy watching Better Call Saul more than I enjoyed the week to week on Breaking Bad. But yeah, it's a great show. I just need to finish it.
Any other thoughts, JD?
So as I kind of hinted at this. So if Andor was taken, I was going to take this because this is easily. Yes, I get annoyed when Chad, complains about it all the time during award season. But on the other hand, I will say that the one thing I will agree with him on is that because I didn't know that the two parts were going to be separate seasons or considered separate Emmy awards. If Bob Odenkirk does not win the Emmy this year for Better Call Saul, I'm going to echo Dan. Just one of the biggest travesties.
Yes.
In at least our modern era, because I won't spoil anything, but there is a scene towards the end where he gives a speech somewhere, and that speech has so many layers. He's doing so many things at once, and it's something he couldn't even necessarily do at the beginning of Breaking Bad or even at the beginning of Better Call Saul. But he's matured and he's grown, and when you get there, it's just it's like you've seen how Bob Odenkirk has evolved as an actor. Like a true actor. And it's one of the most heart-wrenching. You think he's going one way, he goes another. It's one of the most heart-wrenching scenes because you know what it means.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a great scene.
It's an amazing pick. Even if I haven't seen it, it's going to play well.
I can't wait.
I'm excited. Yep, I'm excited to check it out. All right, JD, you got your MVP in your TV series. What would you like next?
So I don't think I'm pretty confident my movie's not going to be chosen. I'm 100% sure my anticipated is not going to be chosen. So I'm going to go with Moment, which I don't know. I don't think my Moment's going to be chosen either. But to go off of something, my frenemy, Chad, every now and again we go back and forth on our Discord chat. One of the things we went back and forth with once was, I saw a particular movie 4 times, and he's like, "What are you doing seeing that movie that many times?" The movie is Spirited.
Oh, I like that movie.
But you don't. I think you've forgotten at this point. But I said I went to go see that 4 times. Like, how can you see that movie 4 times? I just think that movie is absolutely delightful.
Which scene are you picking, JD?
I'm going to choose Good Afternoon.
Okay.
I
haven't seen it, so I don't know what that means.
So there's a scene in the trailer where Will Ferrell and
Ryan Reynolds
are in Victoria, England, and you're trying to era England. You're like, how did they get there? And that is the musical sequence Good Afternoon. And it's like this Abbott and Costello musical number where they're going they're ribbing each other back and forth across the streets of a Christmas Carol era London, and it's just absolutely delightful. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a surprise cameo, and they're like, "Is that?" And they're like, "Is that?" And it's like, "I love that person," and chocolate. That's all I'll say.
But I'm not gonna look it up. I'll wait till Christmas time.
It's a delightful sequence. It will bring a smile to your face, and that's my choice.
Anyone else thoughts?
I think it's a good scene. As someone I read Christmas Carol when I was a kid, read it a few times in my life, and I reread it this year for the first time in a long time. And there's a scene where Ebenezer Scrooge says "Good afternoon" to someone over and over and over again. And it made me laugh so hard because it was after I had watched that movie. And that made me happy. Nice. That scene made me happy. I enjoy that scene. That's all. That's really it. I just like that scene a lot.
I think it's a movie that actually works as a sequel to A Christmas Carol as well as being its own movie. And I just think as a feat, I think that's very impressive.
All I'll say with this one is it's a really fun Christmas movie, and like I didn't realize it was going to be a musical going in, but as soon as I realized that, I got on board, and I thought it was very fun, and like the music was really well done, and I can't wait for Dylan to
Really
actually
funny,
watch
yeah.
this one
I know.
because he's gonna
Feels
really
like
enjoy
he
it.
should have been first in line for this.
I know how he feels about Sean Anders though.
Yeah,
Sean Anders.
Yeah, he
The
directed.
He's in it?
director.
Oh,
directed
Sean
it.
Anders is a director. Okay. When you
Yes.
said that, I was thinking of
Dyl-
what's his name?
Dyl-
Rudy. I
Dyl-
was thinking of
we're-
Samwise Gamgee when you said
Oh
Sean
no,
Anders.
not
That's
Aston.
Sean. That's Sean Astin. Yeah. Sorry, I was like,
Yeah.
Sean Astin's in it.
Yeah.
No.
The only other thing I was going to add is like, Dill, I think this is the first time that like, the people who did like The Greatest Showman and like Dear Evan Hansen, like
Pasek and Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, Pasky and Paul, they did all the music. Like, I feel like this is the first time in a movie that the movie is worthy of their songs, where it actually works.
Ooh, La La
Is
Land
a
ain't a big
movie,
favorite. JD Domash family
and
classic.
the music works together. That's all I'll say.
No La La Land slander here. Just kidding. All right, Brian, you are up. What would you like to pick? You already have your series and your most anticipated.
I'll go with best scene,
Okay.
and I will go with the TV special taping from Elvis.
Oh, nice one.
The
Nice.
whole sequence with the Christmas, like the whole thing for the film. This is where I chose this because this is where Austin Butler fully mannered Elvis. Like the whole comparison, it matches with him.
Yeah.
Even the part with the If I Could Dream sequence, part of the scene, which that sold me on the performance. That showed me how much I enjoyed this performance of Austin Butler.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love how Tom Hanks, you could play a drinking game during that scene of how many times he says Santa Claus is coming to town. I love it.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, here comes Santa Claus. Yeah, no, that TV special taping is great, and I love watching on like TikTok them putting it side by side with the real one, and you see just how awesome of a direction, how Boz got it so perfectly timed out, Boz Luhrmann. How they made it pretty much identical, but even though Austin Butler has his own energy and it still feels fresh at once too. It's such an impressive feat, especially with production design too. I mean, that's going to get a lot of technical Oscars, at least nominations, as it should. Anyone else thoughts on the TV special scene from Elvis?
I love that. That was one of my favorite parts of that movie. I thought the performance, the performance of that actor, of Austin Butler was incredible. But outside of his performance, that was my favorite section of the movie.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I don't know
what I was going to say. I think it's a fine movie. I think Austin Butler's performance elevates what's an otherwise fine but average biopic. But that section is a really good section.
There you go. Yeah, and Chad, you said you don't remember it, right?
Yeah, I just mirror everything JD just said, except I just don't remember that actual part. I need to rewatch that movie. I probably will have to.
It's the one with like the giant like red letters, and he's like sweating and singing, and it's great.
Yes.
All right, so moving on now to Matt. Matt, you have your most anticipated and your series. So you get your pick from movie, scene, or MVP, and you get 2 back to back.
I am going to do. I'm going to do my film first.
Cool.
Honestly, it was really hard because I have a bunch that I really love, and I'm gonna have to go through my honorable mentions here. But I'm just gonna go with my number 1 movie of the year, which was not what I was gonna do. I was gonna go with something fun or interesting or whatever. I'm just going with my number 1 movie of the year, which is Banshees of Inisherin.
That's a fun romp.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a funny movie. I think
it is.
It's
very funny.
It's very funny.
But not your traditional.
Yeah. I already talked about Colin Farrell in this movie and what I love about him in this movie, but there's also just a huge cast of just great actors playing interesting characters who aren't caricatures but could be. And that's one thing I really love about this movie is that everybody's kind of playing a believable version of something that is that comes so close to being a caricature but isn't, and it really, to me, like, it threads a needle, which I am always just impressed with. Also, Martin McDonagh, I mentioned before, I love his writing. Sometimes it doesn't work for me as well as others. In Bruges works really well. This movie works really well. Three Billboards didn't work quite as well for me, but this one I feel to me was like, it felt like it was like he was back to form for me. Like it felt like as close to In Bruges as I could as you could get without, it didn't reach that height for me, but I just really love this movie and I thought about it so much after I watched it. And that was the thing, is just the endurance in my mind with this movie. And Jenny, I would die for Jenny. And that's
I was about to say great donkey performance. I wasn't going to name names in case it's someone's MVP. But,
oh no, this is the year of the donkey in film, but Jenny was the MVP.
Yeah. The year of the donkey, or the every Best Picture contenders, like 3 hours long. But yeah, great film, and I agree with you. Like I haven't seen In Bruges, but like from Three Billboards to this, that's like the biggest jump in quality ever. Like that's such a huge improvement, I think. But yeah, any other thoughts on Banshees?
Yeah, for me, this is my number 6 of the year. I can feel pretty late. I actually saw it on Disney Plus because in Canada they have it available for me to watch. So, and I quite enjoy this. Good performances from Lisa and Phil together. I haven't seen English either, but Three Billboards is my 138 films of all time. And this one I quite enjoy. So yeah.
Oh, watch In Bruges. If you like those movies, watch In Bruges. As far as writing, I think it is peak McDonagh. I think that is the best writing he's ever done.
Yeah, because I'm a McDonagh playwright fanboy. Like I've seen all his plays.
I've never seen or read any of those. I've never seen or read any of those. But as far as movies, that's
what is it? Hangman or A Cripple of the Inishman is also great. Oh, it's so good. Chad, anything to add?
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw this like really late. I couldn't see it in the theater, or I was lazy and I didn't see it in the theater. But I saw it as soon as it dropped on HBO Max. I was like, I gotta check this out. And then we had heard something very sad that was supposed to happen later on, so I stopped mid-film at the request of my wife. And then I was like, "Are you gonna finish this movie with me?" No, okay, then I'll finish it myself. And then I did. Loved it. This is like it definitely in my top 5.
Wow.
I won't say like where it might rank during a potential picture of this, but it's up there for me, at least right now.
Nice.
And it's just because I love Martin McDonagh. I've seen all of his films, I believe. And I would love to do like a ranking at some point because I think they're just all so great in different ways. And I agree, this is definitely like the closest to In Bruges. The actors are very similar.
It's the same two leads.
But I just also love how it's so muted, but also like everything works. Like the comedy works. It's very low key, but the comedy works. The sad parts work. And just like I explained a lot of it when I brought up Colin Farrell as well. It's just like how they do the ghosting thing, and just like I don't know, like all that stuff works, and just like some of the phenomenal performances. And I can't wait to talk about this on Picture This.
Cool. Alrighty, moving on, Matt. You get another pick now. You can get your movie, or no, you just took your movie, your scene, or your most. No, you already took that too. You know what you need.
I need. No, I haven't.
I like to keep the viewers informed because the viewers aren't looking at it like we are. But I'm like, I don't even remember now. I'm almost done with my Twisted Tea. Yeah, go ahead.
I have performer and scene left, and I'm so struggling with scene that I'm going to have to go with performer here. And I kind of want to leave this to the end because I wanted to have a really good excuse for it, but I don't really have it because I was like, everything will be taken, and I'll have to do this one. I don't think I really need an excuse. Ke Huy Quan. In Everything Everywhere All at Once. Let me just. Here's the thing. Yeah, he was only in one movie, and yeah, he's only been in one movie for like in the last 25 years or so. But I saw this movie in the theater, and I do like this movie. I'm not gaga for it like most people. I did rewatch it, and it's still great. I enjoy this movie. I thought it was such a good time at the theater. but his performance, him in that, as soon as I heard his voice for the first time, I go, that's Short Round. I know who that is. And then as the movie unfolded, and I was like, God, he is so good in this. When I left, I said, he needs to be nominated and win for Best Supporting Actor. I didn't think it was a possibility. I just said it needed to happen. I'm so happy he's been doing so well award season, and I think he's probably going to win Best Supporting Actor Academy Award, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. When we think about the MVP too, it's like it doesn't have to be who's been in the most stuff or who's been in like the best, most high like he's got such a great comeback that like that in itself is worthy of
right.
Like,
the comeback.
Like, that's so
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Him and one other person that hasn't been brought up yet, but Brian might bring him up, so I'll let it be a surprise. But yeah, like so awesome to see him come back and so strong. And he's already in a Marvel thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
And it's not, and the strength of his comeback is not in his comeback. It's not in that he's, oh wow, he hasn't been in something in so long. He used to be famous. He wasn't that famous. He was Short Round. He was Data. Like it wasn't like he was
in a lot of popular movies, but he wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't an A-list actor. The strength of his comeback is how wonderful he played, like how wonderful that character is, and how sympathetic he made that character. That was the thing. It's like you feel for that character through the entire movie, no matter what version of that character he is. It's an incredible performance, and I absolutely love it.
Incredible. Anyone else? Thoughts? We'll move right along. Cool. Oh, Chad, you got it?
I was just gonna say, I'm also not gaga about that movie, but like if you had to choose something to be gaga about, I do think he is one of the biggest highlights of that movie, and I agree with the strength of the comeback being a great argument for MVP. So great pick
for sure. Yeah. All right, Brian, you got your film left, and your what else you got left? Your MVP as well.
Yep. I'm gonna go for film.
Okay.
I'll go with Hustle.
Yes! Adam Sandler. Okay, cool.
I haven't seen this, so no spoilers.
I've seen it, but it didn't really stick with me. So Brian, tell me why is Hustle amazing?
It's one of the best Adam Sandler dramatic performances. I haven't seen Uncut Gems, but this I gotta say were my favorite performances from him. Drama. He was so good in this film. I would say he'd probably be surprised for best actor, maybe.
Yeah, I mean the use of the NBA people in this movie is so good. Like every star that's not Adam Sandler is pretty much or Ben Foster is like, or Robert Duvall is like an NBA personality, which is so cool. Like I love when when athletes can also act. It's awesome to see. So yeah,
I haven't seen this, but I love Ben Foster. Tell me a movie he didn't elevate. He's so good in everything.
We can't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I haven't seen this movie, and you haven't seen Uncut Gems. Let me tell you, if you want to see a great Adam Sandler performance that also includes NBA players, watch Uncut Gems.
True.
I think that's kind of
the Radio Silent.
I think that's kind of the thing about Adam Sandler, though, is this is a kind of a movie, like, it might get some slight Oscar attention, but it's a very big if. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a shame. Not that it's a fantastic movie, like one that you're like, holy shit, what did I just watch? But it's like a surprising like movie that doesn't really get made anymore. Like a really the Will Smith one with tennis. I'm like, that one's like very Oscar buzz, kind of like Oscar Beatty type movie. But this is just a really down to earth, like, underdog, a movie about an underdog, but also the movie is an underdog. The performance is an underdog. And I think that Brian is championing this movie. And I think that's such a great thing because I enjoyed every minute of this movie. Because it's just like, I was like, wow, that was just a really neat movie that like not a lot of people are probably going to talk about.
Yeah, it's
like
solid. It's very solid. It's like got everything. Solid. Yeah.
And Adam Sandler's whole kind of shtick is like he loves basketball. That's always kind of been a big thing for him. So I love that he got to make this movie. It just feels like a very Sandler movie, but on the drama sphere. And so I love the pick, Brian. Great.
Got that big SAG nomination. All right, JD, what do you got? You got a movie left and most anticipated left. I did it.
I think I'm gonna go do movie. It's kind of shocking because I've been going back and forth between whether or not I'm gonna do the movie that I put as number one, or if I'm gonna go talk about a different movie. But I just feel like, this is Dill's channel. I know he loves this movie, and I feel like it would just, if Marcel, we don't talk about Marcel the Shell with Shoes on, I would just be disappointed.
Oh,
Yeah.
On
JD,
the
I'm
channel,
voting for
so I'm
you.
gonna go with that.
Wow.
It's my number two. It was my number one till about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I put out my list. It's an amazing movie. I think there's something to be said for just the art of the 90-minute movie that people just it's a underrated art that a lot of filmmakers don't do anymore. And this movie is going to make you laugh, it's going to make you cry, and then it's also going to put a smile on your face at the end of it too. And it's just, I've never felt so it shows social emotions, but also so just zen by end of the movie too. And it's just, Jenny Slate is so great. How they fit in the canon of the shorts is like great. And I also didn't know this before I saw it. Dean
Fisher Camp, yeah.
Fisher Camp and Jenny Slate were married at one point, and they're
This
not
was their
anymore.
baby.
And
This
they
was
did
their
the
baby.
movie anyways. And now rewatching it after the fact, and you kind of see that they're like, they're talking about relationships at a certain point, and like how they're on it. And when you know that extra context that they used to be married is like kind of fascinating. And I can't wait to see his Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, me too. Marcel, it's to go without saying, my favorite animated film of the year. I've been very vocal about that on my channel and elsewhere, but yeah, I love it so much, so much, and I'm glad you picked it, JD, because it is so unlike other animated films. It's made for kids, but it's not made to make kids like necessarily laugh. The humor is more adult because it's very subtle and witty and almost like Winnie the Pooh like. But it's the lessons that kids can take away from it is really important, especially with aging and grandparents. And it's probably a little bit of a trigger if you're going through some deep shit, obviously, because it does get deep and stuff. But just such a beautiful funny.
So I got both of my sisters Marcel's the shows for Hanukkah this
Amazing.
year, like the middle figures, and I also have a pin. I got the pin too.
I love that. They were sold out by the time I went to look. I might have to get them again. Go check it again. But yeah, love that movie. So good. Anyone else here seen it? Love it?
I'm excited to finally watch it sometime.
Yeah, do it, Matt.
Yeah, it's a very cute, sweet, funny movie. Everything JD said about it is true, and I just adore Jenny Slate as like a voice actress as well. Like she's great in like Zootopia and just like everything that she does with that. Yeah, it's just kind of like an underrated movie that not a lot of people talk about, and I really enjoyed, and I didn't even watch the YouTube series when it was popular. So
yeah, the shorts. Yeah, they came out like 10 years ago at this point, like so long ago. Where I watched it as a kid, and when they were making a full length movie, I was like, okay, we'll see. And then they made it. I was like, wow,
and it was beautiful.
It's freaking great. All right, Chad. So you still need an MVP. No, you got your MVP. You need a most anticipated and a scene. What are you gonna go with?
Well, I'm gonna go with most anticipated because that's what you haven't picked yet.
No.
I don't know if I'm gonna pick yours. But I might be picking yours right now. I don't know.
Just do it. Let's find out.
I'm going with the one that just like I saw the trailer and it got me so hyped. Guardians 3.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, cool.
I actually wore the shirt and I was gonna do a fake out and I was gonna be like, I'm picking, and then I was gonna say mine. Then I decided to do it for Top Gun and RRR instead.
I think I might know what you're going with then, because I know there's one that has like a lot of mystery surrounding it and stuff like that. But this one just had to be the one that I picked because I love the first two movies so much. And then I love one of my favorite things from last year was the Guardians holiday special because I'm a big Christmas person and I just thought it worked so well. It's so funny. It made me love some of the characters that I didn't love before. And, with everything that's happening with James Gunn, doing a lot of great things over at DC. This is kind of like a really great swan song for the series, but also probably for him doing Marvel stuff, probably for some of the characters that might not make it at the end of the day. And just seeing this trailer with the music choice for like a third movie, I don't know, it just got me so hyped, not just for the future of the MCU in Phase 5, but also for the future of film in 2023 and beyond, because I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people like have a lot of the MCU fatigue. They might not be as excited about it as I am, but I think if James Gunn can close out this series with a strong third film, this could be not only just like the best series in the MCU, but just like one of the great series of like superhero comic book action comedy films of all time. So I'm just like really, really, really pumped, excited, and I hope it's fantastic. I love these movies so much.
I couldn't echo anything else more. I mean, that's great. Or I do echo everything you said. I don't know. My trip over my words. The Twisted Tea is done. It's empty. Anyone else? Guardians 3 hype? I mean, we're all hyped, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I refuse to talk about it today, but yes.
Right. MCU'd out. I get it.
I'm not a huge fan of Guardians 2. I will say that it has grown on me on rewatches, but it's just one that doesn't really work very well for me. Possibly because my dad sucked and my stepdad sucked, and maybe it hit too close to home. But I will say that this movie looks really good, and I love the holiday special. So I'm really hoping it recaptures what I found in the first one, because that second one didn't work quite as well for me. So I'm really hoping for that. So I am also anticipating on this.
Cool. All right. So I've got my series and my most anticipated. I'll save my most anticipated for the end, because I like the idea of my draft board being 2022 and then ending with 2023. I'm so glad that Chad didn't pick mine, because I know he loves. Or I think he loves the series. I don't know. But I'm going also with a season 6, also a final season of probably. I mean, Chad knows this. Probably one of my favorite shows of all time. This Is Us. This Is Us. Many people don't know that it came out this year, but it did. It was January into May, January into April, maybe. It was a long season, but this show is just one of those shows that just like, if you need a good cry, this is a good cry. And somewhere around like the COVID era, where they were trying to like make it part of the plot, and they were trying to set up some mysteries, like it kind of lost a little bit of its charm. But this final season really brought it back. It gave everyone a satisfying ending, really nuanced and very respectful conversations about Alzheimer's and about illness and death of family. It was very nuanced in the way it was tackling that. It also paid great respect to members of the family that aren't blood, step parents or fiancés and people we're married to, or adopted children. This show does it all, and it really did culminate in such a satisfying ending. The final episode, when I first saw it, didn't love it, because it kind of like is more of an epilogue. It's more of like the penultimate episode is the finale, and the final episode is just kind of like, all right, now what? Now we're just gonna breathe and sit and relax. I didn't love that at first, but now rewatching it, I'm like, it makes sense. Yeah. You kind of need that, because the penultimate episode, I think, is the best episode of television this year. Or last year. I really enjoyed it, but there are 3 episodes I love. It's the penultimate episode, The Train, where it's like this big metaphor for someone's death, but it's a death that we've been long anticipating. There's also a scene about one of the older gentlemen in the show, Miguel, that I think is beautiful, his past and his future. And then the episode, which is a more happy one, of we finally find out Kevin's love interest, who he ends up marrying, and it's just such a satisfying, like, wholesome moment with a Valentine's Day card. I'm not going to spoil anymore. It's such a perfect final season to one of my favorite shows ever. I considered other shows. There was a great season of White Lotus recently that I loved. I know everyone's picked a TV show, so I'm okay to spoil, but I considered White Lotus. I also considered the Stranger Things season 4. I considered House of the Dragon, but none of those, gave me an emotional high quite like This Is Us. So I love it. I don't know if everyone else has seen it. I know Chad has, but JD has as well. JD, what do you have to say? Because I've never talked to you about This Is Us.
So, it's funny. I only watched the 6th season because I knew it was ending, but I was like, I was like, well, let me see what because I'm not into those kind of shows. So I'm like, I know it was talked about by so many people. I'm like, so let me it's the last season. Let me see what everybody's talking about. And then I watched and I'm like, okay, I see what everybody's talking about. Maybe one day I'll go back and watch the rest of it and go watch it from the start.
Yeah, it's much more cathartic when you start from the beginning. But I like that experiment of like, hey, what's everyone? What if I had done that with Better Call Saul? I probably would have given Chad a stroke if I had started with season 6 before going back to the beginning.
To be fair, though, Better Call Saul is a prequel, so you could have, you know,
True,
you do know
I
how it ends up.
6 into that. Yeah, true. Chad, any thoughts on This Is Us? 'Cause I know you like the show.
Yeah. I adore This Is Us. It's one that I stopped, and then I had to redo the whole thing, like JD was kind of talking about, because I stopped at one point when it was doing like its actual airing, and then I started again as it was finishing out this last season that you're talking about is the fantastic. One of my favorite shows of all time is Friday Night Lights, and while This Is Us is not exactly like that, it's very similar in specific ways. Yeah, tonally similar, and like very great with like the very deep speeches. Like you'll have these moments where a character will just kind of like come out and just like lay on you like one of the best speeches you've ever heard. And that's one of the big strengths about this show is like they'll wrap up like what it is to live or what it is to experience a specific thing, or be, I don't know, just a lot of different stuff in like one speech, like specifically a thing that happens when Jack gives a speech at a funeral. Is just like one of them, like, oh my God, like this show just doesn't stop with the brilliant writing. And that's one of my favorite things about this show is how it treats its characters. And the characters are like at the forefront of the show. It's such a brilliant show. And if you haven't seen it, please give it a chance now that it's all said and done, because I think no matter who you are, you're gonna find something that you love about this show, or some character or some speech that actually speaks to you, or something that you've gone through, and I think you will fall in love with it. So
all right, so Brian,
I have to go down the for me. So
okay, yeah. So Brian, you still need your MVP, and no one else has taken one. Everyone else has taken one, so just throw your MVP out.
It'll be for me, Barry Keoghan for Banshees. Barry Keoghan.
Yep.
Banshees and Joker.
Great pick.
Excellent. Yeah, and he's in the Batman. Good pick.
So head off,
Yeah, Brian, thank you so much. We'll get your honorable mentions. Comment on the video, the honorable mentions.
Or I can send it to the group chat, baby.
Perfect. Thank you, man. Yeah, and always a pleasure talking with you. I know we were kind of trying to rush it because of Brian's schedule, but I think we're all good, right? We can take a little bit. Okay, I was just trying to rush it, and now we can like kind of take time. But that's a great pick, Barry Keoghan. I mean, Joker. He's Joker. Yeah, it's exciting. And Banshees. His part in Banshees is my favorite. The scene at the lake where she rejects him, and he's like,
"Oh my God."
Okay, well, I guess that's I forget exactly what he says, but
so heartbreaking.
Yeah, so heartbreaking. I'm gonna put JD there. Yeah.
I haven't watched This Is Us. I'm not gonna give spoilers. I haven't seen it. My wife doesn't like spoilers. I have not watched This Is Us. I will say that it doesn't seem like my kind of show, but when you say like the whole big speech every episode type of thing, it does remind me of a show I really love, which is Boston Legal, which had I don't remember. Anyway, closing statement every episode. And you think that you'd get tired of that, but you never do because they're always so good. And I imagine it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost like
I haven't seen it, so that's
James Spader. Was that who you're trying
James Spader? That's the name I couldn't get up with. Yes, James Spader James Spader giving a closing statement every single episode, and again, you'd think that it would do it. So while I haven't seen This Is Us, that's my contribution.
There you go. All right, round 5, and we don't have to rush this. I was going to say we have to rush it because of Brian, but Brian, we wish you the best, and thank you for being on it. Just to read off Brian's one more time: Super Mario Bros. Movie, Abbott Elementary, the TV special in Elvis, Hustle, and Barry Keoghan, or Keoghan, however it's not. I know Keoghan is the pronunciation, but I say it the American way, which is wrong. But Kagan. He's kegging. He's throwing a kegger. All right. So we are on to my most anticipated. I was gonna try to stray from my video that I made, but there's no other film I'm more anticipated for than Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's the most annoying title to say, but it's like, and that's kind of why I didn't pick a Top Gun scene too, because I'm like, this movie is supposed to be coming out for 3 years now. Like, I've been waiting 3 years for this movie. If this wasn't my most anticipated, like Barbie, I'm hyped for, but I've only had to wait a few months for Barbie. This I've been waiting 3 years for. So yeah, I'm excited. I don't like the whole Part 1 thing. Just call the next one something else. Like, they're all sequels of one another.
Maybe it'll make sense after that.
Maybe, yeah.
And Christopher McQuarrie is basically taken over, so it's not like, right, Christopher McQuarrie? That's who's taking over.
But
so
that's
he's basically taken over, so it's not like it used to be where each movie was directed by a different person. Now it's just part of his series, so you don't have to call it.
But then that's even more incentive to just call it something else.
I agree. That's my point. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Anyway, excited for it though. I mean, that I don't know if everyone else saw it. I don't know if you all saw Avatar in IMAX, but they showed the preview. It was like a 10-minute trailer of him doing this motorcycle stunt on IMAX, and it was the most amazing trailer I've ever seen. And I was like, yep, I'm gonna be there. Not front row.
They released it online. I watched it when they released it online.
There you go. Yep, they released it online as well. But yeah, just because I didn't know that was coming, so I'm sitting down there with my blue Navi popcorn bucket and my blue slushy, and I didn't dress up as a Navi, but I was sitting there like Avatar hype. And then after that 10-minute trailer was over, I forgot what movie I was seeing. I was like, am I here for Mission Impossible? What movie am I seeing? Because all I could think about was that trailer. And they tried to one-up it with the Barbie and the Oppenheimer. Didn't work for me. And I know I just gave away so many picks, but I'm so sorry. But I'm just so hyped for Mission Impossible. Love it. Any thoughts? Anyone?
Yeah.
I really loved Mission Impossible back in the 90s, back when I saw it the first time. And we had it taped. We had 2 VCRs, so we would illegally tape tapes that we had rented. We had that tape taped onto another tape, so I watched it all the time. And then I didn't like the second one. I really liked the third one, and then I fell off for a long time. And then a couple years ago, I went through and just watched everything up through Fallout. And so that's a long way to say I am excited about it. I haven't seen the whole motorcycle thing that you were talking about, because I don't really like it when they give us like the big scene beforehand, like that's. But of course, I also thought they shouldn't have done that for Top Gun, and it did nothing to change how I felt about Top Gun. So,
well, and even in Fallout, like the big one they kept showing was him falling out of the plane, like the free fall, and you think that's the big one, and then later on they're like, oh, there's also going to be a helicopter duel where they're sliding off the cliff, and he has to hold on to the helicopter. I'm like, oh, okay, so they one-upped it. So I have a feeling there's something even bigger coming that we just don't know. But I don't know.
That'd be cool.
That's my biggest thing that I adore about Mission Impossible, and that's why I picked Top Gun Maverick, is because Tom Cruise is the guy that's always pushing the boundaries. Like you said, the helicopter thing in Fallout, like he learned to fly a helicopter so he could do that sequence. Crazy. He's always pushing something, even in Mission Impossible 2, where it's not a good movie. I don't really like that movie, except for the end sequence, which is kind of cool with like the motorcycle and stuff. But like him rock climbing and stuff like that, just pushing it, like just doing everything he can to give you some really cool like action sequence, even if it's just him rock climbing. It's just really cool to see. Going from 1 and 2 and even 3. Well, 3 I think is really good. 1 and 2, and then 3, but like right after that ends with 3, it just gets better and better and better, pushing the envelope. And then as soon as Christopher McQuarrie like joins, I think it's just unstoppable, and it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. I'm so excited to see what happens and all these things. Not even just the big action stuff, but like the intrigue and the twists and turns and just character stuff that happens. And I'm just so excited for it. So if I hadn't picked Guardians 3, this is definitely up there for me as well, like 1A, 1B type scenario.
Yeah. JD?
I have a couple. I mean, I think one So even Mission Impossible 2, like I think a lot of people have a lot of negative feelings towards that. Like if you watch it recently, it's probably not a good movie, but that was probably the first Mission Impossible movie I ever saw. And it was back in that age where, you know, you like everything. Like before you
Yeah.
really like think of school, like it's like your attention span's so short. They're like, "Oh, this is great. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." And then the next week, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." And the week after that, so I have not watched it years. It probably doesn't hold up, but I have slightly different thoughts. But I will say I think Free is kind of the bridge between where we are, or the old series, the old 1 and 2, and like where we are now. And then like once you get the Ghost Protocol, it just goes off the road. The man's gonna die. I joke about this a lot, but the man's gonna die. After this, he has a movie where he's going to go to space. A movie he's going to shoot an entire movie, a whole chunk of movie in space. The man's gonna die.
Hey,
And if he doesn't die, then I think that's it. I think that's literally. I think it seems like they're wrapping. I feel like they're wrapping this. Like this era is going to end, and then he's going to go into like a more. I think like Top Gun Maverick. People talk about Top Gun Maverick, like, oh, look at the crazy stunts, but it's surprisingly mature for what it is. So I just
it's deeper than Mission Impossible in terms of
I feel like it was like a test run for his post career after he finally finishes these, if he survives, But I'm excited.
If you're gonna die, do it doing what you love. I mean, I just watched a good documentary. Everyone's picked their movie, right? Yeah, I just watched Fire of Love last night, and that's like all about that. It's like, why would we die? Well, why would we die old people in our homes watching volcanoes on TV when we could die on a volcano? And it's like, okay.
I watched it this weekend. It's so good. I really like that movie.
All right. So, chat, you need to give us your, what do you got? Scene.
Yes. I have my scene. I was just thinking about it. There's so many freaking great things to choose here. You gave me a whole list, and then you said you added to that. There's just so many things I could pick right now. And then I'm just sitting here thinking, I have to pick something that from a movie that like I've been obsessed with, but I've also like I love it, and I also kind of like dislike certain things in it as well. Like it's one of those like very kind of like love-hate situations with this movie that I adore. And I know Matt loves this movie a lot. So
yeah, I'm real nervous right now.
I know what you're picking. Is it a musical number?
It is, and I may be stealing from Matt here. I'm not sure, but it's one that I think is so well done that it has to be up there and talked about as one of the greatest scenes of the year. And I'm going with it. Revolting Children.
Yes.
Okay.
From Matilda the musical.
From Matilda the musical. I thought I might be stealing that from Matt, and I'm sorry, but it's one that I've just been so obsessed with. Even though it's like a movie that like I remember talking about. I know Matt adores this. I know Dylan really likes it as well. And I know like you even watched this scene, Dylan, before you even watched the movie, right?
Because it was on TikTok. It blew up before.
Yeah.
It was the girl doing like the crazy facial
expressions.
Yeah, she was dancing down the hallway.
Yeah.
She's so good.
And I've just been like obsessed with this movie, obsessed with just all the musical sequences, the songs, listening to them on Spotify. Just watching a lot of the different performances from the actual musical that I still need to see, that I really want to see. Then I went and watched the Danny DeVito one that I absolutely adore, especially from my childhood, and then went back and like watched Matilda again, like on my phone or whatever. And I just keep like throwing on Revolting Children because I just think like it's so well directed, such a great way to end your movie. And I'm just like, how are all these kids doing these moves, and how is he moving the camera and just like getting all of this so in your face, but just like I don't know. And the song is incredible. It starts off really slow with him, singing his thing on the table, and then like he hypes it up, and then you're getting hyped up, and you're like, yes. And like the rest of the movie is just so incredible with everything wrapped up. If you haven't seen this movie, check it out. And then like you're gonna want to rewatch this sequence all the time because it's
Banger.
so well directed and just like just the production and the choreography and just everything around it. So big. Adore it. Love it.
Yeah, Matt, I know you love this.
I do. Okay. I saved scene to last because I was hoping that people would help me narrow it down and that you would take some of these. And now I'm really sad that happened. Because I said that there were 3 that I love that like are kind of even, and I don't know which one to pick. This was obviously one of them.
Now you're down to 2.
Now I'm down to 2, and now I'm just sad because I really want this one now. But let me. Okay,
Sorry, man.
it's all right. A few days after this came out, I kept like jokingly saying my kids have watched it 12 times. It was a silly number that was conceivable because they had watched it a bunch of times, but it was obviously an inflated number. That number is minuscule now compared to the actual number of times my children have watched this movie. My 3-year-old watches it about twice a day.
Wow.
While I'm working in the room I'm working in, which really sucks because then I just pause my audiobook and just watch the movie. So this scene is cleverly written. It's amazingly choreographed. Cinematography is incredible. The kids are so good. The lyrics are so clever. I think I already mentioned that. But also, it's the best film adaptation of Les Mis that's ever been that they've ever done. That scene.
Definitely better
it's
than
so
the
good.
Tom Hooper one.
As somebody who actually enjoys the Tom Hooper version, but recognizes recognizes the flaws, I will say that this is okay. Maybe not the whole of Les Mis, but it's absolutely the best version of One Day More
Revolt.
that's ever been. Or Revolt. Yeah,
film version of One Day More, maybe.
I just said film version.
Oh, okay.
Dyl.
I didn't hear
I
film.
said
Okay.
film adaptation is the words I used, Dylan.
I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. I was looking at the lyrics because I'm like, oh, they're so good.
Yeah. But yeah, so that that scene, how she says a French Revolution motif, like that's the thing about that scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I love that scene. Every time my kids watch it, I have to sit and watch that scene along with a couple other scenes that I might talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, so yes, great pick. Obviously, I really wish it was my pick. But I'm at least glad that Matilda is represented in this because that was I was going to have to do that if it wasn't. So
now imagine if Tom Hooper directed this and this was all
No.
kids in cat costumes.
let's leave Tom
They're
Hooper
all dressed
out of
as cats, and there is
No,
a real flag,
stop
Les Mis
it.
flag.
Dylan, we were having such a good time.
Yep. And all the scenes are close-ups. You really get every wart on Miss Trunchbull's face. All right, JD. Any thoughts on that pick before we move on to you?
So here's the thing. I have not seen this movie. I know I will probably love it when I finally get to it. Here's the thing. I'm concerned that the hype, because I hear like everybody raving about Matilda. It's so great. It's so great. And I kind of like a similar thing happened with like Frozen and like certain other movies where the hype got so high and I'm like, okay, this is fine. I mean, it's good. But I'm like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's better than Frozen, though.
That is my concern. I don't think that's going to end up happening, but I'm just saying up, and I'm going to watch it. That's just my concern.
No, I mean that's a good point though. The fact that like if someone keeps playing something over and over and over again, it gets exhausting. You know, it's why people have such Frozen fatigue because Let It Go was played every second of every day. So
And
I don't think this is at that extent yet.
Lion King, and I'm like, no, it's not.
That's a reasonable concern. It's why I still haven't gotten on Andor because I think I'm gonna love it. I just can't. It just can't compete with the hype. Like that's just a fact. I would say wait a little bit, but definitely watch it. But wait a little bit because I do think.
I don't think
it's
getting that
It's definitely
overhyped,
on the list. That's just my concern.
Well, you got to understand that I've been talking about it for 2 months or however long it's been.
Yeah, you two have been overhyping it, but I don't think the general public is overhyping it quite as much. But regardless, it's a great pick. Fantastic scene. That was my runner-up if I wasn't going to get a Top Gun or an RRR. So good job, Chap. All right,
Yeah.
JD. What do you got now, JD?
Most anticipated is the only one I have left. So I think I'm the only one who hasn't done most anticipated yet. So that means I have my pick of the litter, which I didn't suspect I was going to have. So I'll be honest. I thought about Cocaine Bear. I thought about Barbie, just because I think the fact that Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig has got a studio to greenlit $100 million Barbie indie movie is just absolutely insane.
And then did a 2001 parody for the teaser trailer. It's just genius.
So cool.
Good.
The fact that they were managed to not only convince a studio to do that, but to convince Mattel to license it is absolutely insane to me. It's not my pick though.
It would be a good pick though.
It would be a good pick. I've been pretty mellow on my picks so far based on my past history. The thing I have chosen doesn't actually have a full title yet. It is called the Untitled Please Don't Destroy Project.
From SNL?
It is coming out in August.
I don't know what is this? Tell me about it.
So Please Don't Destroy. They're a comedy group on SNL. They basically are the replacement for Lonely Island. They've done a bunch of short over these past 2 seasons. They did the first short they ever did was like a skit on how the trend of hard seltzer and how there's hard seltzer for everything. And then there's the more recent one. A more recent one I saw was Tommy, which was they play high school versions of themselves, and they have like a friend who looks significantly older, and then he's pretending he's a high schooler, and it turns out he reveals that he's a 67-year-old Irishman, and it's Brendan Gleeson. And
that is the funniest sketch.
It is.
So let me just read you guys the log line of this movie. That again, I hope they actually keep the Untitled Please Don't Destroy project, because it would actually fit with what the plot is. It follows 3 friends who work and live together. When they realize they don't like their life trajectory, they set up to find a gold treasure that is rumored to be buried in a nearby mountain. Now, that's all I need to know. That based on their shorts, that is going to be a combination of Superbad, Stand By Me, and Goonies. That's all I need to know, and that's all I needs to be in order to be on my most anticipated list.
It's a good pick. I didn't even know this was coming out. I didn't even know that's what those guys were called, but I love them on SNL when they pop up. Great pick.
I didn't know this was coming either. A while back, my good friend Michelle sent me a playlist of this and was like, "You have to watch all of these." And so I watched them, and it's obviously great. And I didn't know that this was coming, but I am also now anticipating this movie.
I normally don't go. I said I've been pretty mellow by standards, but I'm like, this is the one I'm going to go wild.
I think this is a gift that JD just gave all of us, because I also didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
But I love Please Don't Destroy. You don't think that the Lonely Island could ever be like succeeded onto something else, but these guys are like so different from them, but also very like great in their own way. Just great successors. And I've been vocal about one of my favorite films of all time is Billy Madison. Tim Herlihy wrote Billy Madison, and his son is in Please Don't Destroy. And I just think that's such a great thing to pass on. And like, he's also so funny, and his friends are so funny, and they all work together, but individually they're all so funny. I love every single sketch that they've done. and I would be insanely excited for a movie with them. So I don't blame JD at all for picking this because this is going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's an awesome pick. It's an unconventional pick. I mean, you could have gone the most traditional, typical. Like you could have picked Spider-Verse, but again, Marvel, you're taking a break until you have to compete in trivia next week. But
He doesn't know what that is.
That's just a skit for this episode.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, such a great pick. All right, Brian picked Barry Keoghan for the Batman and Banshees of Inisherin, and we are ending with Matt. Your scene is here. You got to let us know what your scene's going to be, since Chad took one of the three of yours. So hopefully he narrowed it down.
I had a lot of them. Those were just the three that I couldn't decide which one was number one, and I'm still honestly not sure. Let me just say that Dyl, Chad, and I have all lifted the front of our shirt to show our logo, but JD hasn't, so I feel like he needs to do that. There you go. Okay. Thank you.
Matt is picking the Locust scene from Jurassic World Dominion.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
And you should never.
I will.
Sorry, JD.
We're going to get into a debate if you start.
All right.
JD.
Let me just say, with the exception of Fallen Kingdom, I like all of the Jurassic movies. I will definitely be watching this movie, even if it's bad. So
it's on Prime, so.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to watch it with my wife, and we just haven't.
It was for free on Peacock.
Okay, so we're going with scene. So I'm the last one here. So let me just kind of take you through here. I wanted Matilda to be represented. Revolting Children was one of the top ones. I've explained why I love that. Some of the ones that didn't make it to that top three, the Tar single take scene was really good. A Batman versus Riddler's thugs in the Batman, the chase scene with the Penguin, the prison escape scene in RRR. Which brings me to also, I did eliminate from the top Naughty from or whatever that song's called from Matilda. That's Naughty. Naughty is so good.
Do it. Do the one that you posted in the chat. That's amazing.
Wait, I didn't even see it.
What?
Posted. Oh.
I'm gonna have to. Okay. I'm not gonna do not to, which was the other one that I was up there with. That's the one I showed my wife today. So I'm sorry. All this preamble to break down to. I'm going to do
it's tough. It's tough.
The school song from Matilda.
You're doing it anyway.
What'd you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be the White Noise finale.
Oh,
I also thought you were just gonna. I thought you were going along the road of Matilda's already represented, and then I didn't think you were actually gonna pick a Matilda song, but double Matilda rep in this last round.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And four musical numbers picked tonight. JD picked a musical number. Chad, Brian, and Matt all picked.
Well, see, my top three were Matilda and RRR, and you both picked one of those. So it was gonna have to be in the. So let me tell you. The ending to White Noise was also up there. It's one of my favorite scenes of the end credit scene. But I'm gonna go with the school song from Matilda, only because that was the moment as I was watching that movie where I was like, okay, I understand I get the tone of this movie and I understand what's going on. That scene is so clever. That's the one that we fell in love with first. We didn't fall in love with Revolting Children until our 16th viewing or something. That's not true. It was earlier than that. But that first one that our family fell in love with, we watched it again. As soon as that scene was over, we rewound it and watched it again, like that scene. And then as soon as it was over, the kids were like, "Can we watch that alphabet scene again?" Said, yeah, let's of course. Oh, I guess so. Oh, I don't want. Of course, I don't want to, but I guess so. No, I definitely wanted to. Yeah. It's just so clever the way they incorporate the letters, and you don't really understand. It just seems like a good song at first, and then they redo the whole song, revealing the whole alphabet thing, and you're like, oh my god, that's so clever the way they put it together. Plus, it just kind of sets the tone for the school. You have the other songs that kind of set, and the rest of the scenes that kind of set the tone for Matilda's life and set, kind of explain what's going on there. This sets the tone for the school. This tells you this is what's going on, and I just absolutely love it. I don't know. It's honestly, I probably would have taken Revolting Children over this one because I have fallen more in love with that since then. But this is the one that really got me in with Matilda, and I love it. So I'm gonna choose that one.
There you go. Anyone else thoughts on it? I mean, you said it all. It's great.
Yeah, I also really dig this one. Revolting Children was the one that like got me back on board because I didn't love the movie instantly, kind of like Matt did. I had to like go back a little bit, but like the end of that movie is so strong that's what got me back on board with wanting to love it. But the school, like every one of these sequences in this movie is so well directed. Even the naughty one that you almost picked, but that one is so incredible, and it plays into like the Revolting Children because like the school song is where they're showing like everything's terrible here, and we've been locked in these cages for ages. And then the Revolting Children's like we're free. So it's a two sides of a coin.
Yeah. JD, have you seen this one, JD?
No.
I couldn't remember. Oh, you just talked about it. Sorry, guys. It's been a long night. It's been a long night. This is a 2.5 hour episode.
I don't know.
It's okay. All right. That's our draft. We'll get into honorable mentions in a sec. I just want to rattle off our draft boards because we made some pretty fine draft boards. Dylan, MVP of the year, Jenna Ortega. Film of the year, The Fabelmans. Scene of the year, The Bridge Rescue from RRR. Season of television of the year, Season 6 of This Is Us. And most anticipated for 2023, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Chad, his MVP of the year is Colin Farrell. His best film of the year, Top Gun Maverick. His show of the year, Better Call Saul Season 6. His most anticipated, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And his best scene of the year, Revolting Children from Matilda. JD, his series of the year, Andor. His MVP of the year, Brad Pitt. His scene of the year, Good Afternoon from Spirited. His film of the year, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. And his most anticipated, the untitled Please Don't Destroy Project. Brian, his most anticipated film for next year is Super Mario Bros. The movie. His best series from this year, Abbott Elementary. His favorite scene is the TV special from Elvis. His favorite movie, Hustle. And his MVP is Barry Keoghan. And Matt, his best series is Severance. His most anticipated, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. His best film, Banshees of Inisherin. Best MVP, The Comeback Kid, Ke Huy Quan. And his best scene, School Song from Matilda.
God, what a draft.
There was actually my number 2 MVP didn't get taken, so I'll start there for honorable mentions, and that's Lashana Lynch, who I think gives one of the best performances of the year in The Woman King, and is also very good in Matilda, and is also a great cameo appearance in Doctor Strange. Sorry to spoil that. JD, cover your ears. Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness.
Right. About that.
Yeah, so she's had a good year. That was the only other MVP I was thinking. Otherwise, I did have Colin Farrell on my board, Brad Pitt on my board. I did consider Ke Huy Quan and Brendan Fraser the comeback kids of the year. Chad, any honorable mentions for MVPs?
Oh yeah, the other ones that are on my list, the one that I almost picked was Hong Chow, because she's fantastic in The Whale and The Menu. She's so good in both of those movies, and I kind of hope she wins. She gets nominated and wins for Best Supporting Actress from The Whale, because I thought she like really was so fantastic in that. And the other MVP. Two MVPs that I had, Sadie Sink, Stranger Things, and The Whale. She's
and All Too Well.
And All Too Well, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right. I haven't seen that one. And Tom Cruise, just because of
Hold on,
Maverick. Top Gun. Yeah.
Hold on, Chad. You love Tay-Tay. You haven't seen her short film All Too Well?
No, Chad's. I'm the one who loves Tay-Tay.
No, Chad loves Tay-Tay. Taylor Swift. Her short film All Too Well.
I haven't seen it. No,
dude, Dylan watch it. It's like 10 minutes long. Watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, Dylan O'Brien's also.
Was that a joke though? I thought Chad didn't like Taylor Swift. No,
I love Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
No, he loves it. Don't you remember when Folklore came out and he annoyed the? I'm sorry, what? No.
Oh no, he doesn't like 1989, the best Taylor Swift album. Gotcha.
No, Lover's the best Taylor Swift album.
But I can't wait for the Taylor Swift draft where it's just me, Chad, and Kelsey screaming at one another. Just kidding. Matt, what were some honorable mentions for MVP?
For MVP, Lashana Lynch, I had on my list, but I haven't seen The Woman King, so I didn't feel I didn't feel right
Gotta see
because
that
I couldn't
too.
talk about like her big role from this year. Although I do love her as Miss Honey and Matilda.
She's
Obviously,
so
if I
good.
could talk about Matilda once again, but Hong Chow, I was also going to say because I really loved her in. And this is a hot take, and we are not going to talk about my feelings on the whale, but I will say that she was, I thought, the best actor in the whale. She gave the best performance, in my opinion, in the whale. And the other ones we already said. So that's
JD?
really everything has been said.
MVP, honorable mentions.
So you said, and a couple were drafted. Most of mine. The other few I was going to mention for MVP. I was very close to taking this person actually. If Brad Pitt was taken, I would have gone for John Leguizamo for because I, even though technically Encanto is a 2021 film, it didn't really hit until 2022. The song. So, and then you also have The Menu and
Violent Night,
Night,
yes.
which he's both brilliant in like both of those movies. And then Florence Pugh, also because she was in The Wonder, Don't Worry, Darling, and she was the voice of Goldilocks and Puss in Boots.
She is the
I haven't seen
best
either.
voice actress in Puss in Boots. I loved her in that.
Oh,
I love her, and I haven't seen any. I didn't see any of her.
Chris Pine was also considered. Like, again, Don't Worry, Darling is, it's not the greatest movie, but those two are, even though I don't like the movie per se, they're two standouts.
I was gonna say, if we ever get monetized, I want to donate all the profits from this draft day to Florence Pugh's back surgery for carrying "Don't Worry, Darling" on her back.
and then Moments will be the only other thing I shout out.
So we're now gonna go to I'm just gonna go in order here that I have it. Films, obviously. I mean, I'm not gonna rattle off all of them because I have the Pickle Awards coming up, so I'm not gonna rattle off all my favorite films.
Shocked that Everything Everywhere All at Once did not get.
Yeah,
I mean
that's the big movie of the year.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But...
And any honorable mentions from Chad?
Yeah, the only ones that I had, I was just hoping I would get Top Gun. And the other ones I wrote down were Banshees and Fablemans.
Cool. And Matt?
I'll say that,
I
like I said, I didn't go with my top 5, so I went with kind of what I thought. So here's the order that I have them in: Banshees, Everything Everywhere All at Once, RRR, The Batman, and my favorite feel-good movie of the year, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
Adore it.
Nice. I love that.
I love Bros. I mean, that's obviously it's in my top 5, but Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris was one of my favorite experiences of watching a movie this year. I love that so much.
I like to feel like I started a lot of that hype, but
you absolutely did. It would have been on my radar without you, Dyl. Thank you.
Thank you. Just taking a little credit there. I'm the MVP of 2022 because I got all of you to watch Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
All right.
I'm kidding, Chad. I'm kidding. All right, JD, what do you got for any other films you were considering?
So The Fablemans was one of mine. Spirited, which I talked about for my best moment, was also on the list. The Menu, which was actually my top film on my Letterboxd list. Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then Babylon was the other.
Babylon fucking rocks. All right, TV series. I have White Lotus, obviously, as an MVP, or as a honorable mention. I love that second season series a lot, especially Aubrey Plaza and Jennifer Coolidge. I considered Severance. I considered Moon Knight. I like that best of all the Marvel stuff this year. And then Survivor season 43 it was a dope season. Chad, any honorable mention TV shows?
Moon Knight came out in 2022. It's been so long. Wow.
Right,
yes, it did.
I forgot that came out, and I also forgot This Is Us came out because I didn't write that down. But the 5 that I wrote down were Better Call Saul, Severance, Abbott Elementary, Mike Flanagan's The Midnight Club, which I thought was fantastic, and Yellow Jackets.
Cool.
Matt, I can't believe I didn't write down Yellow Jackets. That should have been my number 2. But what I did write down, I should have had Yellow Jackets. But what I did put, it was Severance, Sandman, Under the Banner of Heaven, which is Andrew Garfield. It's really good. You should watch it. Which also, what's her name? The 3-named woman, whose name? Never mind. Daisy
Edgar Jones. Daisy Edgar Jones. Another contender for MVP, Where the Crawdads Sing, Fresh, and Under the Banner of Heaven. She's been having a good year, and she got cast as Carole King in the biopic that they're making of her. So
So that show was good. The Resort, which I thought was going to be similar to White Lotus, but was not at all, and was really fun and a lot of fun watching.
That's not a bad choice.
Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and Yellow Jackets. I can't believe I forgot about Yellow Jackets. It would not have beaten Severance, but I can't believe it was my second favorite show of the year. So.
Yeah, JD, any TV show honorable mentions or no?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned, this is the shortest list. Like The Resort is actually a really solid choice. I just didn't think of that one, but like I thought Severance, White Lotus, and a couple other ones are going to be taken by other people. So the three I had were Andor, which I thought was going to get taken, Better Call Saul, which I felt was going to get taken, and Miss Marvel, which I think was the best of the Marvel TV shows this year.
Nice. Also, before
can I throw out one more show that I think is really fantastic? Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. I haven't seen it yet.
If you don't know what it is, if you don't know what it is, you haven't seen it, or if maybe if you've seen his original show, Nathan For You, it's completely different, but also the same kind of humor, and it's kind of brilliant.
Yep. So he's kind of the king of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Before I move on to other honorable mentions, I do have Brian's. For film, he had Elvis, Jackass Forever, and Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. For series, he had Man vs. Bee. I've never heard of that. Barry and Amphibia. And then his MVPs.
Man vs. Bee is an interesting one. That was
Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson. Yes.
Oh, cool. And
he's just he's house sitting and he's facing a bee for the whole series.
His other MVPs he had Austin Butler for Elvis, Adam Sandler for Hustle, Diego Calva for Babylon, David Lynch for The Fabelmans, and Jim Carrey. I don't know what Jim Carrey was in. I guess Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
Yeah, Sonic 2. All right, moving on to that most anticipated. Brian here has Ant-Man, Quantumania, Wonka, and Cocaine Bear. Wonka, another big one, directed by Paul King, director of the Paddington movies. I also consider Barbie, as I said, but Mission Impossible was the big one for me. Any honorable mentions for most anticipated, Chad?
Yes.
Oh, Chad. Yes, go ahead.
I'm going in order, Matt.
That by the time I only get dregs, is what you're saying.
The only one that I had written down that hasn't been mentioned is Denise, Dune Part 2.
Oh yeah,
yes, that is on my list as well. I will say that for me it was Indiana Jones, obviously. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. As a TTRPG player, I've been wanting a good version of this for such a long time, and I'm very excited that this is coming. And I love Chris Pine, and I love a bunch of the people that are in it. So I'm very excited. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Part 1, but I think they dropped that. Who knows? I think they dropped it again. Like, I don't know.
They dropped it. It's going to be Across, and the next one's now Beyond.
That's right. That's right. They did. Yeah. Barbie, as we already talked about, it's insane that I'm excited for this movie, but they just have the right combination. This movie is not for the people that it should be for. It's like,
as I mentioned, yes, it's not for the people it should be for. I told my sister, I'm like, I can't wait to see a bunch of kids in their shocked faces.
Dune Part 2, obviously, and then Oppenheimer.
All right, JD, any most anticipated honorable mentions?
Okay, here's my list. So, Cocaine Bear, Ant-Man, Quantumania, John Wick Chapter 4, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Renfield, Oppenheimer, The Voyage of the Demeter, Haunted Mansion, Dune Part 2, Wonka, Killer of the Flower Moon, Asteroid City, the new Wes Anderson movie, and Barbie.
Barbie, yeah. All right, moving on to scene. I say this for last because I have a lot of them, and I don't know how to pick. But Brian's best scenes, he also brought up Maverick and Iceman scene in Top Gun Maverick. The They Live moment at the prom. I love that. The Fabelmans. In The Fabelmans. And then the Keenan and Kel reunion in SNL. An inspired pick when they reunited. Some of my other honorable mentions, God, there's so many. The eighth death in Puss in Boots in The Last Wish, which is, spoiler alert, the opening scene. Because, he's on his 9th life. That's the premise of the film. So you get to see his 8th death. Revolting Children from Matilda. David Lynch as John Ford in Fabelmans is an amazing scene. It's one of my favorites. From Top Gun, I thought of the Mach 10 sequence where he's pumping up the speed. Maverick passing his own test to show everyone else that it can be done, and then the test itself, the mission. From Nope, I considered the Gordy's home sequence. Avatar: The Way of Water wasn't brought up on this draft, but I love it, and I considered the scene with Loak and the Tolkien just kind of bonding with the whale. It's so beautiful. A big year for whales. Under Pressure from After Sun is the one I was alluding to earlier that just ripped my heart out. The scene where I'm just gonna say the name of the song, Under Pressure. I'm not gonna say anything else about the scene because I know none of you all have seen it. But Under Pressure, it's a needle drop. You'll know when you see it. Rip my heart out.
Love that song.
Yep. New Body Rumba from White Noise, the one that we the final scene, which I will also not spoil. Filming, I had a few from Babylon. So the race for the camera when the sun is setting, and they're like, "We need this camera," and he's like, "It's all the way across town." They're like, "You got to get us this camera." I think that's an amazing scene. Filming the silent movie in Babylon 2 reminded me of Singing in the Rain. The whole like, "Oh, we got to do it again. We got to do it again because you're not hitting your mark." All that stuff, I just freaking love it. Great homage to Singing in the Rain, that movie, in such an unconventional way. The opening montage of Pinocchio, how you find out how Pinocchio is made. I don't love that film, but that opening montage is amazing. And then the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, another film I didn't love, but that music note fight is so cool. It's so Sam Raimi. I love it so much.
I forgot about that.
Those were my honorable mentions. Chad, any honorable mention scenes?
Yeah, the test flight thing, not the mock in the beginning, but in Top Gun Maverick, when he goes and shows everybody that it can be done, that is such the biggest like cheer moment of all time. Not of all time. Well, maybe of all time, but this year specifically is fantastic. The David Lynch one, the New Body Rumba, because I'm such a big LCD sound system fan. That was so incredibly done. I won't explain what it is. I already got Revolting Children, and the dance experience from Severance. And the reason why I almost picked that one is because apparently I think none of the actors really knew what was going on in the moment.
Oh, that makes actually a lot of sense.
Yeah,
for that scene now. I've already rattled off my my stuff, but you did remind me of a couple that I did not have that I should have, which is the music fight scene. I love that scene in Doctor Strange so much. That was my favorite scene of that movie. But also Judd Hirsch in the Fabelmans, that whole scene, that was the scene of the movie for me. I really love that scene.
Oh, kitty cat. All right, JD, finish us off. Any honorable mentions for scenes of 2022?
So
we wrap it up.
Yeah, so this was my best movie of the year. For my best movie of the year, I had two choices. Tyler's Bullshit, the scene where he does the Nicholas Hoult character does the demonstration for the chefs in the kitchen. I'm just obsessed with I'm just obsessed with the moment where he whispers. He finds Chef Schlog's character just whispers something to Tyler. We don't hear what he says, but it's so shocking and so like it just shocks him to his core that it makes him want to commit suicide. I'm just obsessed with that scene. And that on the script, it probably had nothing on there, and he probably just said a bunch of like nonsense in his ear. But just the way like it's acted is kind of like just insane.
I wouldn't put it past Ray Fiennes to have said something devastating to him.
Yeah, it's like the lost in translation thing of like what did Bill Murray whisper to Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, it's one or two things. It's either that, it's what you guys said, or it's a bunch of nonsense. But just a well-made cheeseburger was the other one.
That's good scene.
I just love that. I just want that cheeseburger all the time.
Yeah.
And then from Babylon,
the way it bled just a little bit when you pushed it down. Oh my god!
Yes. So then from Babylon, I chose where the other two were Clarabelle fights a snake, and
oh my god, yes, that's so good. Stacey Morris, if you're listening, we love you, but do not watch that scene. You will be traumatized because she does not like snakes. She does not.
Yeah.
She has seen it. Oh, I'm so sorry. That scene though. I'm not scared of snakes, and she
loves that movie. She really likes that movie by the way. And then Tobey Maguire, his sequences, James McKay. Love it or hate it, I just think you can't take your eyes off that whole sequence.
Oh, Toby,
I think 2 minutes of that scene were perfect. The rest of it was completely unnecessary.
The one where the initial part where he's where he's like pitching movies.
Yes, the awkwardness there, like that's perfect.
Because that was the moment. If I was gonna have to choose which one, that was gonna be the one I would choose.
Hey, if Babylon came out last year, we could say Tobey Maguire was the MVP. But not enough movies or enough screen time this year to be an MVP. But that's our honorable mentions. That's great. I also would have brought up. Also, I forgot the Purple People Eater monologue in Nope. The way he just delivers that as a straight monologue. Oh, so good. Yeah. So that's it.
Oh,
that's
and then the monologue scene from Pearl.
Yes, of course. Mia Goth.
Dude.
Oh, another MVP for the year. Oh my gosh.
Well, that
Pearl
was
and
yes.
wow.
That I actually forgot to mention that.
That brings me. Pearl brings me up. I would have probably gone for the credits. Just the
that's
credits.
What I was.
Oh my god, that's such
where she just stares for 10 minutes.
And another monologue in a Resurrection, Rebecca Hall's monologue is also very good, where she talks about this traumatic thing that happened to her, and you're not sure if it's real, and then as she's going, you're like, oh shit, that's real. And of all people, they have
after Pearl. I'm still looking forward to Infinity Pool.
Yeah, and Maxine, another most anticipated for me.
Yeah, the Me Too. Mia Goth was the other person that I was alluding to, as if you guys didn't know, of someone who has the potential to become like a horror icon coming up. It's because of this year, but that's that end credit scene. Mia Goth is like that. She could have won MVP just from that scene, that end credits scene. That was so good.
Yeah, the fact that for that end credit scene alone, the fact that she's not getting a more awards consideration is a travesty. It's just too genre. But it's
Toni Collette. It's Lupita Nyong'o. It's surprisingly not Daniel Kaluuya. He made it for Get Out, but it's the Academy thing of horror is not cool enough for the Academy.
As it gets younger, I feel like that's going to change. But is it fine? Once we get more younger, it becomes majority. Our generation, I think that will change. But
all right. Well, we've talked now for a while, but it has been such a pleasure to have you all on. Really quickly, where can they find you? Rattle it off quick, Chad. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me here a lot of the times over on the Picture This and a lot of other avenues in the Dyl Pickle Movie Network. However, you can also find me on my channel, Chadwick Webb. Dylan has been on there quite a few times, and we've done a lot of great things. We did the big Disney animated ranking, and it was all 61 Disney animated films. It was insane that we did that, but it was months of preparation, and then we did it. It took 5.5 hours to do, but it was really, really fun. I dropped it on there, 5.5 hour long YouTube video. Check it out if you love Disney animation to see where we rank stuff is really fun. We have more stuff coming. We have other rankings that we did. Like and subscribe to that. And then also check out the Nerd Entertainment Network. We have a show over there called Welcome to Primetime, where me, my wife Carrie, and my buddy Hunter, we talk about horror. We talk about Buffy, and we rank all the Buffy episodes. It's really fun. It's really cool, really crazy. Check that out. Like and subscribe. And thank you very much. This was fun.
Yeah, Matt.
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd, Mattman XIII. You can find me on the Dyl Pickle Movie Network on various shows, but the show that I host is Frame Wreck. It's a bad movie show where we talk about movies that are so bad they're good. This month we are talking about Catwoman. It hasn't come out yet. Halle Berry's Catwoman. If you check out our holiday special that came out, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and if you look real hard, you can see the moment that I realized I did not transfer my notes to my computer. They are all in my notebook, and I don't have my notebook.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I got to go back and watch. And JD, where can they find you?
You can find me on various social media platforms such as Twitter and Letterboxd at JDD or JD Domash. It's
awesome. It's okay. We'll put them in the description as well on YouTube. And if you're listening oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but also you'll find me here guesting on Dill's channels like Draft Day, and Zach is going down.
All right, that's a good segue.
He's going down.
The Marvel trivia match that will be happening soon.
I have some things to say. I've been
say
watching.
Right now, or will you save your things to say?
I will save it for later, but I have some things I'd like to say.
All right. Well, we can't wait to hear that and see you compete in that. And yeah, that's all from me. You can find me at Dyl Pickle Movie Network on YouTube. If you're listening to this on podcast, thank you. We're now on podcast. Yay, Dyl Pickle Podcast. You can find this audio version if you'd like to speed it up and not take 3 hours of your day, but take maybe 1.5. You can do that there. You can also do that on YouTube. But if you want to take us on the go, if you want to be riding in your car and hearing the sweet voices of all of us, please be my guest and please give us a rating, subscribe, whatever you have to do. Subathon's happening next month. We got a big draft day planned for you, kind of along the theme of Matt's school song. We're doing the ABCs, but of movies, and I'll explain more about that when I talk about the subathon. But until then, this was Dylan, Chad, Brian, JD, and Matt, and we will see y'all next time. Remember to vote on Facebook for a winner, because this is going to be a tough one to decide a winner for, but you can vote on Facebook. Go do it.